All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Cool Beans Hot Stuff and another episode of Film Buff Fridays. So, today we are going to continue with our 8 Elements of Film Theory video series that I started a couple months ago. We're on element 7, I think it is. So, only one more video to go. There's 8 of them, obviously, and it's been kind of a drawn out process getting through all 8 of them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if this is your first time on the stream or the first time checking out a YouTube video, then you can go check out my channel if you like, and you'll see all the other videos that we've done so far on the 8 elements of film theory. It's 8 aspects of a movie that film theorists look at when they are critiquing or analyzing a movie. So we're learning about them is what we're doing. I'm not really teaching you about them. I'm learning about it myself, doing research on it, and you're coming along for the ride. So if you enjoy that kind of content, then please like and subscribe to the channel and go check out my previous videos on my YouTube channel. And once we're done with the 8 elements of film theory series that I've been doing, we only got one more. Like I said, today's deep dive into editing, obviously, as the title tells you, and then deep dive into mise en scène, which will be next Friday. So once we get, or no, that won't be next Friday. That'll be the Friday after, first Friday of next month. So once we get done with all 8 elements, then we're going to put everything that we've learned together into a nice little spreadsheet that I will, hopefully I'll find a way to link it to the YouTube video whenever I do that video, sometime next month probably. And then you'll have a handy dandy pamphlet that you can print off for when you want to review movies. And then that's what we'll be doing on this channel. We're going to review movies. And I don't know how it's going to go. I know that YouTube and I'm not sure how all the other websites, because I stream on Kick, Rumble, X, Twitch, and I'm not sure how any of those websites, how they handle it. But we're going to see how they handle live streaming an actual movie while we're critiquing it and going over different aspects of it as far as like film theory goes, right? Analyzing it, critiquing the movie, right? So we'll be starting and stopping it. It's not like I'm watching through the whole movie in one fell swoop. That is obviously illegal, copyright infringement. But we're going to see it. Technically, it shouldn't be copyright infringement to watch through a movie, starting and stopping, analyzing different aspects of the movie. It should be fair use, but that's generally not how it works out. A lot of times, the people with the money decide what fair use is, not the law. And if somebody who owns the rights to a movie doesn't want you doing that with their movie, then YouTube and other websites just kind of say, yeah, fuck that. You don't get to do it. Doesn't matter if the law protects it or not. So I know YouTube is a bunch of cunts about that. We'll see how other websites are about it. And we're going to try it. We're going to see if it works. If it doesn't work once, then I'll just do your standard movie reviews where I show clips and stills and go over it, which is a lot less fun, honestly, in my opinion. Like, what would be the fucking point of doing that live then? You know, the showing the movie, starting and stopping, critiquing, conversing with people while the movie is going on would be so much funner, right? Or at least I think so. Maybe I'm like the only motherfucker who thinks that, but I think it would be a blast. I think it would be awesome. But we'll see how it goes. We're going to give it a shot. But before we get there, we have to finish our series. So let's start on. Okay, so you guys don't need that screen. That is me sending a video to YouTube. Okay, so this is the screen we need. Right. So here's our 8 elements of film theory. Like I said, we're on number 7 over here, editing. We've already done types of film, shots, angles, deep dive into lighting and color and sound was last week. I think I did that last Friday. This Friday's editing. Next Friday will not be mise en scène. I kind of break it up a little bit. Next Friday, we'll be having a really fun. I mean, I'm super excited for next Friday's stream because it's about, well, we'll get to it. I'll tell you at the end of the video. So, but mise en scène we'll do here in a couple weeks, and that'll be it. So, editing. let's kind of scroll down here. Editing, I remember in this article, they don't really cover editing a whole lot. They give you like all these various different types of editing, which I'm not sure what's going on with that because I attempted to look into a lot of this. Thematic editing, associative editing, dialectic editing, and I got nothing. I got like, I mean, not nothing, but next to nothing. So I kind of had to throw this whole um, video together, right? Just go up and be like, what about film editing? This about film editing. What's film? How do you do film editing and all of that? So that's what we're going to go through, right? Okay, and let's see. We're going to hop over here. Let's learn a little bit about film editing. I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Everybody probably knows what film editing is, but in case you don't, here you go. So, what is film editing? Film editing is the art and craft of cutting and assembling finished film. This work is done by a film editor who helps complete the director's vision of the movie. The creative choices of an editor are usually a combination of what they think is best for the film and what the director and producers want for the finished project. Mostly done during post-production, aspects of film editing can involve physical strips of celluloid film, digital files, or both. Nasty human noises. What does a film editor do? Cuts, splices, rearranges raw footage to create shots, scenes, and more. So that's kind of the main takeaway, right, from this whole thing. They take all of the raw footage that a director has shot, right? Because, I don't know if you know or not, but when you're shooting a film, it's very similar to when you're recording a song. You'll take multiple takes of everything, right? And I haven't spent a lot of time shooting films. Like, I did go to film school when I was 18. Yeah, 18. And saw and got to sit and watch people do the filming process. And it's very similar to, I ended up working in recording studios doing music, and it's very similar to recording music. When you're recording music, you'll record your raw tracks, which is just like the whole band playing together. And then you'll have the drummer come in and lay his drums by himself. And then you might have him lay 2 or 3 different variations of the song, maybe another extra 2 variations on verses or choruses if the producer has something special he wants to try later in the editing process. And you'll throw in like different fills in different places, just get takes on everything the drummer would have to do, right? And then you do the same with guitar 1, then guitar 2, then you do the same with vocals. You get multiple takes of everything. And then once you have all these takes, you go through, choose the best parts of each take, and then splice them together. And that is what editing, that's the process of editing. It's the same with film. You take all of the best parts of each take and splice them together. Okay. Editors make choices that affect the film's pace, atmosphere, narrative, and music. And this is kind of why I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine this is the reason why it is one of those 8 elements of film theory that we saw in that little film theory circle, why it's such a big deal to analyze when you're watching a movie, because editing really does affect the film quite a bit. We're going to watch a video a little later about how bad editing can fuck up a film, and it can fuck up a film pretty bad. It's definitely one of those things where you don't really notice it when it's good. When it's bad, that's like the only thing you notice is how bad the fucking editing is. And you don't necessarily need to be an editor. I mean, editors can get away with maybe some not so good decisions sometimes, and you might not notice it as a viewer, especially if you don't know anything about editing. You're probably not going to notice it. But when it's consistently bad, you notice it. It doesn't matter if you have professional chops in editing or not. You're going to notice like something's fucking wrong here, right? It's the same with like a shitty song. If you're listening to a song that's been very shittily recorded, you're going to be able to hear it. It doesn't matter if you were a sound engineer or not. You're going to hear it and you're going to say, well, this sounds like a fucking piece of shit. Like, I don't know what's wrong with it, but I know something's wrong with it. It's like, compared to like building a deck, right? Like, you don't need to know how to build a fucking deck to know when the deck you're standing on is unsafe, right? You stand on the deck and the fucker starts swaying. It's like, I probably better get off this. That's a shitty fucking deck. You don't need to know how to build the deck to know this fucking thing's probably going to fall and kill you, But, if you know more about building a deck, then you can look at specific aspects of a deck and say, see this little joint right here, the dude done fucked up. you know, this over here wasn't done properly, or like, wow, it's really cool how this guy did this right here with the deck, you know, and other people are going to be like, wow, okay, I guess. Like, I'm so excited for you and your awesome deck. But you know, you'll be able to look at work that somebody else has done if you've done it before, and you'll be able to piece out how good it is or isn't. Same with uh, recording music, right? Once you've been in a studio for a while, you start getting that critical ear for listening to music. And it becomes very easy to pick out, like, like that was a shitty edit right there. Like there was a pop right there from a bad edit on an audio track, you know, or man, this mix is just trash. You know, you can't hear the kick for shit, or like, man, they did something wrong with the bass. They must have done this, or they need to turn the hi-hats up, whatever. Like you can listen and hear things like, this isn't as good as it could be, or somebody done fucked this up, right? That happens. And then that's same thing with movies, right? The reason why we're learning about editing is because we kind of want to, at some point here on this channel anyways, and maybe you too if you're watching. The whole point is eventually on Fridays I want to do like film reviews, as I said in the intro. And in order to do that, you do need to have a critical eye for these kinds of things. And same that when I worked in music, you need to develop a critical ear. Now, the best way to do that is to just go out and do it. Edit movies is the best way to get a critical eye for editing, or for the editing in other people's movies. But in short of being able to do that, because not everybody has access to a fucking film editing software and film editing booth, or, you know, nobody's going to, they don't have access to actual raw footage to edit would probably be the biggest thing you don't have access to, right? But in lieu of that, knowing what different types of edits are, which is what we're going to go over today, the history of editing, what different types of edits are, the more popular edits, and then what they look like in different movies. So you can watch a movie and be like, that was a J edit. That's an L cut or a J cut. That's a crossover or whatever, you know, and we'll go over what all those words mean. And then you can start developing a critical eye for what that looks like and when it works and when it doesn't. So that's the end goal. Works with the director and producers to make the final cut. Yeah, so that's another thing that editors do. Okay, all about film editing. Here we go. In the beginning of film, there was no editing. It was a single shot taken from a single static camera. The fascination with a moving image was enough, and using the medium to tell fictional stories was still a few years away. Even then, film editing simply involved cutting from one scene to the next. Today, there are many editing techniques that evolved over the years to create new forms of film language. As you saw in the video above, we didn't watch the video above, these techniques are simple to execute but can have profound effects in visual storytelling and how the audience receives information. Below, you'll find a collection of these techniques assembled using their storyboard creator, and we're not going to do that because we got a lot of other stuff that we're going to get into. In the old days, it was only when the power of cinematic editing could do to support the storytelling that film editing became a valued process. I read something wrong in that sentence there, but I'm not going to go back and try it again. Let's look back at those early days to see where and how the purpose of editing in film really bloomed. How it began. The history of film editing isn't too fancy, but it does have an early evolution that helped bring it to where it is now. In the early cinema days of 1890s, the purpose of editing in film was simply a matter of putting frames together to create scenes, back when movies were shorter than 5 or 10 minutes. During this brief era, very few movies used what would be called continuity editing. We'll get into that here in a minute too. Or, well, I guess we'll get into it right now. Which meant having continuous scenes strung together seamlessly. Famed French filmmaker Georges Méliès, is that how you say it? Méliès was also, I'm horrible with French words at all, period. French people's names, any of that, which is hilarious because I took classes in French and somehow came out of them even worse. Was also experimenting with editing as a visual effect during his time. With the 1900s, narrative features like the Great Train Robbery proved that editing could create the cinematic illusion of time and space. With the power of editing, you can make it look as though a group of robbers have boarded a train and are on the run. So not only can you trick the audience into believing what's happening on screen, but you can create a true narrative too. Yeah, editing is important for creating a narrative. Pretty soon after, more filmmakers experimented with the principles of film editing, with some aiming to prove powerful points with it. The Soviet montage movement emerged in the 1910s and 20s. If you've seen my video on shitballs, my video is on shitballs. It was here. Let me find it. I got it right here. Structuralist film editing. Structuralist film editing, or my video on where you at? Where you at, dog? Okay, I can't seem to find the other one, so we're just gonna leave it. I have two other videos on my channel. One of them is structuralist editing and a tour editing. That's it. Okay, on a tour, my video on a tour film theory and structuralist film theory. And then I did have, I don't think I ever actually posted it though. I did a stream on formalist film theory. So I guess you had to be there for that one. Snooze, you lose. You weren't there. You didn't really miss anything. That's why I didn't post it. It was kind of a, I mean, my streams can be a little bit boring talking about film theory. That one was like super boring. It was like 10 times the amount of boring that I usually am. So I didn't post that one. But if you did watch the structuralist film editing video that I put out, we actually went over the Soviet montage movement because that played a big role in the creation of film theory in general, too. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Soviet montage. It involved juxtaposing footage of a man with a bowl of soup, a child in a coffin, and an alluring woman. It would show his unchanging face and cut to one of the three. The idea was, with the power of editing, you can make the audience believe the man had certain feelings towards any one of these scenes. The process. Editing film used to literally be a cut and paste process involving splicing and glue by hand. Splicing was the way film editors made their edits, working with copies of negatives and creating work prints. Later on came what were known as flatbed machines that made cutting up and splicing film strips much easier, quicker, and precise. Decades later, digital film editing technology helped make the editing process easier than ever, removing the need to touch film at all. Once processed, the digitized film strip would be made into a file that the editor and their assistants could digitally touch at will on their computers. Known as non-linear digital editing, this is the way virtually everyone edits their movies today. And if they're shooting digitally, then that's one less step they have to take. Yeah, that same evolution happened in recording studios. So you went from recording straight to tape, and you used to have a tape machine. I actually learned in audio school how to run a tape machine, how to clean a tape machine, how to fix certain heads on a tape machine or replace heads on a tape machine, because it was a pretty mainstay fixture of a recording studio. You would have to sit there and hit the button, and then they would play in. You'd have a countdown at the beginning of the song, and you would have to do punch-ins and punch-outs. When you only wanted to record a specific piece of the song, you would have the song on tape, and as that moment approached on tape, the artist is out in the live room playing his guitar, drums, or whatever. You'd count down, and then boom, you'd have to hit the record button super fast right when that part comes in, and then boom, hit punch out again super fast to the point that it was seamless, that you couldn't hear that there was an edit on that tape. And if you fucked it up, you, the engineer, you fucked it up, and you had to go back, and the artist had to replay through the song just to replay that one fucking part because your dumb ass doesn't know how to punch in. So it was a skill set that certain engineers knew how to do, and other engineers, you weren't allowed to touch a tape machine if you didn't know how to correctly punch in or not, if you didn't have your timing down, you know. So now we have like Pro Tools and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier. Okay. So same exact evolution, which is kind of cool. And editing techniques in films. Okay. So here we're going to hop back over here. We're going to hit editing techniques in films after this guy. Here's some video editing terms, right? It's always good to know the lingo, right? If particularly since we're going to be watching videos on it, they're going to use, I don't know, I guess, because some of these videos I haven't seen yet, but generally, usually, when you're learning something, it's good to get a handle on what the lingo is first. You walk into a recording studio or a mechanic's garage. How many people remember being a kid and helping your dad out with the car, and he says, "Hand me the fucking this wrench," and you're like, "I don't know what that is," and he gives you this look like you're a disappointment. You don't know what that kind of a wrench is. And it's like, oh, fuck, you know. So that you want to know, you know, the lingo before you go walking into like a mechanic's garage and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be a mechanic." You should probably know like what that kind of a wrench is and what like a Phillips screwdriver is and a flathead and this and that and the other thing, right? So it's good to know the lingo. So let's learn a little lingo. It's not a lot. It's a teeny tiny little bit. See, pretty quick. So let's just run through the lingo real quick. And then as we're going through, we'll kind of reinforce what we learned, because it's a lot to drop on you in one fell swoop. But as we're going through the rest of the videos, we'll kind of reinforce it as we're going along. Yeah. Okay, so a cut is a transition where one shot is instantly followed by another. So one shot, then the next. That's it. Picture two people across the table. One's talking. Shot goes to the next person sitting across the table talking back. Okay. Continuity editing. Continuity editing. I don't know if I said that right the first time. Visual editing where shots are cut together in a clear and linear flow of uninterrupted action. This type of cutting seeks to maintain a continuous sense of time and space, which I believe we're going to learn a little bit more about continuity editing. I'm pretty sure that's all movies nowadays are seeking to have a continuous flow of, I suppose it says linear flow. So linear perhaps meaning like linear story, like if you're jumping back in time, then perhaps you're not, that wouldn't be count as continuity editing. I could see that. We're going to learn a little bit about it though. I'm learning this with you guys. So a continuity error, when the action or elements of a scene don't match across shots. For example, when a character breaks a glass window, but in a later shot, the window is shown undamaged. Yeah, that's a continuity error. You can see that even in Hollywood movies. I remember there was a really good movie with Daniel Craig before he became James Bond called Layer Cake. It was a British kind of gangster movie, and he played a British gangster, obviously. And there's a shot in there where he's lying on his bed, and he has a gun resting on the pillow, and the gun's pointed at his head. And then the shot turns away to his front door. Somebody knocks. It turns back, and the gun is still resting on the pillow, but it's pointed the other way. That would be a continuity error, right? And that's part of the director's fault for not keeping the scene set the way it was supposed to be, or the people who work under the director who are supposed to do that, but ultimately the director is responsible for that. And then the editor for not catching that in the editing room, like, hey, y'all done fucked that up. So cross-cutting. Technique used to give the illusion that two storylines of action are happening at the same time by rapidly cutting back and forth between them. And we're going to go over a little cross-cutting, and actually show an example here in a little bit. So if you don't understand that, that's okay. We're going to jump into it. Cutaway. The interruption of a continuously filmed action. A continuously filmed action? I don't know. Okay. Well, interruption of continuously filmed action with a shot that's peripherally related to the principal action. Yeah. So I don't entirely know what that means. And if you don't either, that's okay. We can be totally fucking stupid together and neither one of us knows what's going on. Well, cutaways will be over here. We're going to see continuity editing. We're going to hop into that here in a second. Okay, dissolve. When the end of one shot overlaps the start of the next one to create a gradual scene transition. And I think everybody's actually seen a dissolve. You can see dissolve and fades for transitions in between scenes. You've seen that in your basic Final Cut Pro, Adobe Editor. When you were a kid, if you were ever in high school and did film in high school or just made your own YouTube videos, you've seen dissolve transitions and fade transitions and all of that. Editing, the process of taking raw footage to select and combine shots to create a complete motion picture. The establishing shot, we actually went over this in my intro to shots or deep dive into shots video. A shot that gives viewers an idea of where the scene is taking place. This usually involves a shot from a long distance, such as a bird's eye view. So yeah, that usually happens when you're first starting a movie, and sometimes when you're transitioning to a lot of times when you're transitioning to a new location within the story, right? So if your story is transitioning to a diner, the establishing shot would be like a street side view of the diner. And then the next shot would be in the diner, maybe say going through the diner and you see how packed it is, and going up to the table where the two guys are talking. And now you know where they're sitting and where they're talking. They're in the diner from the establishing shot. Your mind just kind of instinctually puts that together. Eyeline match, a technique based on the idea that viewers want to see what on-screen characters are seeing. For example, if a character is looking intently at an off-screen object, the following shot will be of that object. Okay, So it's just matching the eye lines of characters. Again, we're going to go into an example of that. A fade, we'll get an example of this too, but y'all kind of probably know what this is. A visual effect used to indicate a change in place and time. This involves a gradual brightening as a shot opens or a gradual darkening as a shot goes black or to another color. Sound also fades in and out to convey the change. All right, we'll learn a little bit more about that, but you generally know what a fade is, right? If you're fading into black, that's like a picture turning black, or fading out of white. A picture can fade from white into the actual picture, the scene, right? Iris, a wipe that takes the shape of a shrinking or growing circle, depending on if the scene is opening or ending. Rarely used today, but very common during the silent era. I'm assuming that, because I didn't see this in any other slides. I'm assuming the iris would be like when the camera, like everything is black except for a little circle that's focused on an object, and then it gets wider to open into a scene. Or at the end of a scene, like, I'm trying to think, was it I Love Lucy that used to do that, where at the end of the show it would, like, the screen would turn black except for a circle around like Lucy's smiling face. She would like smile, and then that would be the end of the show, right? There's old show TV sitcoms that used to do that, and I forget the names of them. One good movie, I wouldn't call it a modern day movie anymore because it's kind of old. The Departed has multiple shots like that. Multiple scenes start with the entire screen black except for a little circle that's focused on a guy, and then that circle widens to encompass the entire screen, and you get the establishing shot of where that guy is standing, right? So The Departed actually does that. J cuts, we'll jump into J cuts and L cuts here in a little bit. Jump cut, an abrupt cut that creates a lack of continuity between shots by leaving out parts of the action. A matched cut, we're going to get into that too. A cut joining two shots with matching compositional elements. This helps to establish strong continuity of action. One of the more notable examples of this technique is from a famous scene in 2001 Space Odyssey, but they don't tell us what that scene is, so I guess we'll never know. Montage. Oh, sorry, that was a burp. I totally didn't even try to silence that one. Montage. A sequence of shots assembled in juxtaposition of one another to create an emotional impact, condense a story, or convey an idea. A famous example is Psycho's shower scene. Oh, well, then you got a warning here. Don't watch it if you're a little pussy, is what that warning says. So, yeah, is that montage? Okay, I guess, yeah, maybe that falls into the montage. I've always seen montages. Everybody knows, like, the classic, not everybody, but if you're around for the 80s or you've ever seen any 80s movies, the classic 80s montage scene, South Park made fun of it. They had an episode where they had a whole bunch of 80s montages in it, but the most famous one I would think would be Scarface. Had, one of the most famous 80s montages, the Push It to the Limit song. Push it to the limit, the limit. Do, 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 do. And then it's like Scarface being a fucking gangster, and it's like different shots of him buying his fancy car, then buying a tiger, and then hanging out with pretty girls and getting his new suit and smoking a cigar and looking all badass and shit. Roll. A roll is graphics or text that moves up or down the screen. This technique is typically used for credits by having text move from top to bottom or bottom to top. Okay, pretty easy. Or like the beginning of Star Wars. Rough cut. The first editing pass done for a film. So rough cut, just like a rough draft for a novel, right? The former sentence is not entirely accurate, as an assembly cut is the first editing pass done for a film. Oh, okay, well, excuse me. But it depends on how one defines editing, so I think this is okay. Oh, a rough cut receives further polishing and editing before making its way out to audiences. All right, sequence shot. A long take composed of one shot. That just like made that made the whole thing more complicated than it needed to be. But okay, so I guess they have assembly cuts, rough cuts, and then maybe final cuts, I would assume. Second shot. Sequence shot, excuse me. A long take composed of one shot that extends for an entire scene or sequence, usually requires complex camera movements and actions. So that would be, that one long continuous sequence shot. I'm trying to think of a good example. Reservoir Dogs, Mr. Blonde, after he cuts the cop's ear off and the camera follows him goes out to his car, opens the trunk, pulls out the can of gasoline, shuts the trunk, walks all the way back into the um warehouse, and then pours the gasoline on the cop. And I think the sequence ends with him throwing the gas can and then lighting his lighter. And then we get a cut finally. But I think it's like in a continuous several minutes where it doesn't cut. It shows the whole sequence of events. That would be like a sequence shot, I'm assuming. I mean, I think that's a pretty good assumption. Shot, reverse shot. We're going to learn a little bit about that too. The alternating of over-the-shoulder shots, usually used during a conversation between two characters, sweetening the process of adding sound effects and music and or enhancing the existing audio with effects. Okay, I didn't know it was a part of editing or film editing. You would assume that would be a part of sound editing, but whatever. Wipe. The transition from one shot to another with a visible pattern or element. No longer used in today's films, but very common in early cinema. Okay, so that's a good, quick, general introduction to different terms that you're going to run into while we're discussing editing. Give me a second. Now, let's actually look at some of these techniques in action. Okay, so continuity editing. One of the earliest forms of editing, this technique simply ensures that things remain the same from shot to shot. If a person is in the middle of drinking from a cup in one shot and they're in the very next shot, they should still be drinking from it or at least be holding on to it. Ah, okay. Oh.
Okay, I'll bite. What's wrong? You've all been really quiet tonight, and I can't help but think I did something.
Son, we've been concerned about your videos lately.
My videos? What about them?
It's just, well, your editing lacks continuity.
What do you mean my editing lacks continuity?
Oh.
Jack, when you edit a scene, you have to
Did you
watch
see
out for
the
little things in the
lack of continuity
Okay,
there?
I'll bite.
So, I mean, that's kind of, what is that? Clever. Very clever. Okay, so just take that in right there. Here, let's make it bigger and move my head somewhere. You know what? No. There we go. Okay, get me out of here for a second. All right, so take all that in. Let's see what happens
What's
when
wrong?
they shoot,
You've all been really
pull
quiet
away,
tonight, and I
switch
can't
away,
help but think I did something.
cut away.
Son,
Now let's see what
we've been
happens when they cut
concerned about
back.
your videos lately.
My videos? What about them?
Okay, that glass of water wasn't there. Yeah?
Son, we've been concerned about your.
I think I did something.
Yeah,
Son,
it was a little
we've
bit
been
closer to the
concerned
plate.
about your
It was
videos
there.
lately.
My videos? What about them?
It's just, well, your editing lacks continuity.
What do you mean my editing?
See what happened there with his orange juice? There's his
Yes.
orange juice or
What
whatever
about
that is.
It's just, well, your editing lacks continuity.
What
Now
do
it's
you
a
mean
water.
my editing lacks continuity?
Jack, when you edit a scene, you have to watch out for little things in the background.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm a filmmaker.
I'm not
it's-
sure if you are.
So we're
In one
constantly
the
getting a
videos,
switching
you
of
had a steady cam
glasses,
facing one way,
shirts,
And then when you cut back to the scene, it was facing the other way.
Oh, please, that's so
wines.
tiny.
There's like
Nobody
3
notices
bottles
that.
of wine
Don't
now.
be so sure, son. People can get distracted if something's not the way it was originally.
But I always check for continuity.
She's
Like in a
completely
fight.
gone.
If there's a speck of blood on the fighter's cheek, that little speck of blood has to stay there the entire fight scene.
I understand the concept, Father.
Well, there's another video of yours.
Now they're
where you
eating
edit some
tacos.
toward the camera.
Oh, let me guess. And when the shot changes, I'm looking the other way, right? That's a very common mistake that you'll see in a lot of movies, including some of the larger releases.
That still doesn't excuse you from getting sloppy in the editing room.
Sloppy? I spend hours on each video making sure every shot, every sound, every frame is perfect. How dare you call me sloppy?
We're only trying to help, son.
I don't need your help.
These pancakes are delicious.
Don't change the subject, Mother.
Don't talk back to your mother.
This is absolutely ridiculous.
He's a
You've got to
fucking
learn
dog
to be
now.
more open to criticism, Jack. What was that?
Nothing.
That's right, nothing.
This is such bullshit.
You watch your mouth.
Why don't you watch all my videos and point out their flaws? Oh, wait, it's your favorite pastime.
You know what might calm everyone down? A family shot.
Yeah, Mom, I don't think a photograph of the family would calm me down much.
Oh, not that kind of shot.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
don't even remember what we were arguing about.
Oh, that's pretty good. Who made that? Hold on. We got to go to YouTube and check that channel out real quick. Jack's Films. They got a lot of subscribers, but they got one more. That was hilarious. Okay, so that was a really great way of illustrating continuity as well, because you saw the very clear jumps in lack of continuity from one shot to the next, right? They're changing where the drinks are, then they're changing what the drinks are, then they're changing what they're eating, then they're changing the color of everyone's shirt in between shots. Great way to illustrate what continuity is, right? If there's ever, let me turn this down. If there's ever a goof in the continuity, that's famously known as a continuity error. We kind of went over that. These are probably among the biggest mistakes that audience members will notice during the course of a movie. Even though it can be fun to point out, it can also take an audience out of a movie if it's too noticeable or jarring. Yep, so that's kind of important. Okay, and this is cross-cutting. We kind of read about this. Cross-cutting is an editing technique that involves showing two or more separate actions by cutting back to them one at a time. This can create the illusion of them happening all at once, or have the scenes serve as parallels of one another. We won't watch the whole video, but just get an example of it.
There is one type of scene that keeps our hearts racing like no other. Each cut corresponds with a harder pound of the chest and pulls us out of our chairs, inch by inch. The more it builds, the more we climb forward. It is the ultimate tool of tension. It is the culmination of crisis.
If it takes them too long to get to the fucking point, we're gonna...
Cross-cutting has a large presence in Hollywood, especially in the past 25 years, and we'll get to the best of the best, the tensest of the tense. But first, a breakdown, because it's important to understand, crosscuts were not invented for intensity.
Okay. It's from Silence of the Lambs, so just watched this the other day.
The beauty of the sequence comes in its surprise factor. For the majority of the scene, the audience is left out of the loop in regards to the fact that it even is a crosscut.
Yeah, so I don't want to give up the good stuff, but the cross-cutting in Silence of the Lambs shows, it flip-flops between this guy sitting in his house. He's a murderer. He's the serial killer they're trying to find. Him doing his little thing with his little fucking moth buddy. And SWAT members, police, surrounding a house. And I say a house because we assume as the audience it's his house, because they're swapping between that and him inside the house. Then him in the house, his doorbell rings. And we're like, oh shit, it's the fucking popos. This dude's going to get shot. And then he opens the door and it's Clarice Starling. Then we go back to the other scene where the SWAT bust in the door and it's a completely empty home. And we realize, oh, fuck, Clarice is at this dude's house and the cops got the wrong place. So, fucking cops that time. They dropped the ball on that one. Here you go.
Viewer, the FBI is breaking into Buffalo's house.
Well,
They've
I kind of already
succeeded,
explained it, I
This
guess.
is the moment of payoff.
Precious? Precious?
Down here, you sack of shit!
Sack of shit.
Our expectations build along with the sequence.
You're in that bucket.
No, you give me a telephone and Laura down here now!
Precious? Darling, how are you all right?
She's in a lot of pain, mister. She needs a vet. She broke her leg on the way down. I know it. She's been licking
Hey,
it.
don't you hurt my dog!
Don't you make me hurt your dog!
Hey, you don't know what pain is!
This is it. Buffalo Bill is done for.
I'm probably going to get copyright strike for this on YouTube.
I'm gonna do it, mister!
They're really going to play the whole fucking scene, aren't they? Okay, I guess we only got a few more
Police
seconds.
and the FBI have won. They got their man.
I don't know how this guy's video is still on YouTube.
We're going in.
And then the reveal.
Good afternoon. Sorry to bother you. I'm looking for Mrs. Lippman's family.
No, Lippmans don't live here anymore.
Excuse me, sir. I really need to speak with you.
What's the problem?
Okay, we don't need to keep watching it. You get the idea. So cross-cutting, that is a really good example of cross-cutting, though, how it can be used to deceive the audience. But cross-cutting is swapping in between two different scenes with the intentions of showing them that they're happening. Well, that doesn't even have to be the intention, just showing that they're happening simultaneously. I think that is the consequence of it. People automatically assume that these two things are happening at the same time. And you can kind of play off that assumption. The assumption with that is that they're happening at the same time in the same place. And we don't even know that they're happening at the same time. You know, once we realize what's happening, we're like, oh, they might have broken into that other guy's house an hour ago. You know, that happened an hour ago, maybe. So the cutaway. Ooh, that's a good one. American Werewolf in London. Hold on. A cutaway shot is an abrupt cut from one thing to another. As the name might imply, it is meant to cut away from one thing to bring attention to another. This editing technique can be used for virtually any purpose, from a horror scare to a comedic punchline. In many cases, it is used to provide irony to a scene or to unsettle the audience in some way. Okay, let's see the cutaway shot in... Nice, only a 2-minute video. Great. American Werewolf in London. This was one of the best werewolf. I'm sure it still goes on the list of the best werewolf transformations in film history. But it was like the number one. It was ahead of its time when it came out.
Do you know what this is?
No.
Oh.
Some monster got part of your wonderful brain. But what did you ever get from him? No. Oh, I don't believe. Oh,
Oh, my God. All right, don't freak out, Peter. Don't freak out like you did when your goldfish died. Here you go, Lieutenant Shiny Sides. It's okay. You don't have to eat it now. You're just sleeping. You'll eat it later.
I don't know what else to say. I know I fucked up. Fucked up. Yeah, you fucked up.
So cutting to the sausage was a cutaway. Oh, yeah. It's a good one. Okay. There you go. That's a cutaway. Good examples. All right. In a dissolve. So we talked about that a little bit. Oh, this is a very famous dissolve. One of the most common editing techniques is a dissolve, which has been in use for an extremely long time. It can be described as having the visuals of one scene overlapping with the visuals of an incoming one. It can be used for various purposes, such as if you want the audience to ruminate on what just happened in one scene before entering the new one. It can also be used for creating parallels or comparisons between the coming and going scenes, or if you want to allude to the passing of time. So this is a classic right here. One of the best. The Psycho. Really, we just want to see the Psycho one.
It can be high art.
Oh, that's a pretty good one.
Or not. It is poetic. Or not.
I don't know. I disagree with claiming that the dissolve shot wasn't poetic. On what was that? The Girl Next Door. I think the whole point of that is to like make the scene even dreamier because she's the girl next door, and her neighbor's watching her walk in next door. But
it draws attention to itself.
That was pretty good.
Or not. In the hands of lazy.
So that Psycho one, the dissolve, you're essentially like I don't know if you caught it, but his face turns into a skull. Just very briefly, yeah. Right there. So that is super fucking spooky, honestly. Like, that's creepy as shit.
In the hands of lazy filmmakers, the dissolve can be a crutch, which is probably why it's gotten a bad rap and used much less than in the past. It's been years since I actually used one in a film. That's not to say that I would never use it again.
Nice dissolve.
Okay, well, you get the idea. That's what a dissolve is. I think everybody's kind of seen that one. A fade, same too. They don't even have a example of a fade. Fades are similar to dissolves, but they serve a much different purpose. With a fade, either to white or most often black, a scene comes to an end. Unlike a traditional cut, the fade slowly ends a scene definitely. Fades, like dissolves, were very common in the early days of the talkies, in the pre-code era of the 1920s and 30s, as well as post-code Hollywood. These days, they're a lot less common, but still used in all genres. So J&L cuts. These ones are pretty common and actually important. Like once you realize what they are, you realize how often they're used, and you're like, wow, that is a very common edit. So a cut from the same thread, a J&L cut, use sound and imagery to capture the attention of the audience. A J cut is when audio from the next scene infiltrates the current scene before we get to see where the sound is coming from. So before we transition from one shot to another shot, we're hearing the sound from the second shot first, in the first shot. L obviously is backwards. L cut is sort of the reverse. The sound from a preceding scene is still with us as we enter the next scene. So the sound from this shot is in this shot. It is often used in conversation scenes to keep things interesting and less stilted. Yeah, that's where you'll actually see J&L cuts the most, is in dialogue scenes.
It's alive. It's alive. Hold on to that. It's hot. In. Shut that motherfucker. Shut it. So!
See, there was...
Did you hear that? Let's listen again.
He's going to tell you.
Shut it. So!
Did you notice how the sound from the next scene arrived before the image did? That's called a J-cut. A J-cut is an editing technique where the audio of a shot or a scene precedes the visuals. Now, pay close attention to the audio in this clip from The Tree of Life.
Count it out.
3, 4, 5,
Did you notice how the sound of the boy counting carried over to the next sequence of shots? That's called an L cut, which means that the audio from one shot carries over to the next shot. These two techniques got their name from how they appear in an editing sequence. A J cut makes a J shape, while an L cut makes an L shape. Almost every film includes at least some degree of a J or L cut. You may have never noticed this before, but simple conversations use them all the time.
I ain't got no worries, man. Not them kind what I had before.
He will, I asked him.
Well, thank you. It was very nice of you, but I'm out. I'm done.
J&L cuts allow an editor to break up a conversation and create better, more natural flow with reaction shots. Without them, every conversation would play out like this.
I go there about once a year to chill out for a month.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Why would you?
While this style is definitely not considered bad editing, it gives the scene a much colder, machine-like feel, which is suitable for this particular moment of awkward getting to know each other talk.
What was it?
See,
It was a show.
I have
about
to hit the rant screen for a second. That right there really does exemplify why I personally want to, and maybe hopefully you, if you're watching the YouTube video or the live stream, why you want to learn more about these aspects of film for the sake of appreciating film a little bit more, because tiny little things like that really do mean something when you're talking about a really good filmmaker, a really good team of people that are making the film. There's a lot of forethought that goes into everything, including the little edits. This scene in Pulp Fiction is just a conversation between Mia Wallace and, I forget his fucking name, but John Travolta's character, and Vincent Vega. And anyways, these two characters are getting to know each other in this scene. In this scene, this is them getting to know each other. And so to keep it feeling more stilted and awkward, kind of how it would feel if you're just getting to know, especially if you're taking your boss's fucking wife out and your boss is a fucking murdering psycho gangster and you have to take his wife out to the restaurant, it would be very awkward. That's a part of the reason why his conversation is so awkward in this scene, right? It's like, this is the boss's fucking wife. I mean, they had a preceding scene where Jules told him what happened to the last guy that touched the boss's wife, gave her a foot massage and got thrown out of a 4-story window, fucked his shit all up. Dude still doesn't speak right. So John Travolta's like, all right, just be fucking chill, take her out, take her to eat, take her the fuck home. We're done, you know? And it's interesting that, you know, so this scene is awkward for many reasons, and to keep it feeling stilted and awkward, they completely avoid all J&L cuts and stick with just the basic swapping between the two, and which has its own name. I'm just blanking on what it means or what that name is. But yeah, that tiny little technique, that little thing, just taking out the J&L cuts so it's much colder, harsher, a little bit more stilted, it to keep the audience in that mindset is just such a unique little detail that you wouldn't think of unless you were aware that these kinds of things existed. But that's the kind of shit, when you learn about this stuff and you see what a filmmaker is doing, you're like, wow, that's fucking brilliant. And it gives you a much deeper appreciation for the art form, you know? So that's kind of why we're going over all this, really, to learn stuff like this so we can see what kind of impact it actually has. And then when you go out and watch your next favorite movie or another movie, or rewatch one of your favorite movies, you can look at the editing and see how it adds to it, you know? And it's pretty neat like that. So anyways, just had to throw that out there.
Team of female secret agents called Fox Force 5.
Outside of basic conversations, less subtle J&L cuts are used to wonderful effect. They are commonly used to transition into dream sequences and flashbacks.
Dream last night. You were inside the house. I am.
Outbound for Shanghai. Need one able-bodied seaman, one oiler, and one baker.
J&L cuts also work great for scene transitions. J cuts tend to express.
Let's chill here. What is this on YouTube? Let me
express urgency when transitioning because they create the feeling of cutting a scene short.
Fandor is the name of this channel. Try it for free? What does that mean? Am I already following the guy? Okay, well, what have you. Anyways, check out their YouTube channel, I guess. Try it for free. Okay, so a jump cut. All right, we just need to know what a J&L cut is, and then we'll get into our own videos that we have about editing and different kinds of movies that were edited in different ways, good and bad. So we'll get into that a little later, but jump cut is next. So popularized during the French New Wave, a jump cut is when there is no continuity between shots. They call them jump cuts because the shots seem to jump ahead in time during the same shot. This editing technique was mainly created to simply cut time off from a movie by eliminating needless seconds in a scene. However, it would soon become influential in French New Wave scene and beyond. Okay, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but let's just check it out.
That's when I noticed that the lighter's length, it's exactly the same length as the diagonal itself. So I put it lengthwise. Along the outside edge. Look, it fits there too. Yeah. But it fits there. And it fits like this, and like this, and this way too. And I bet you if I just split it in half, you know, it's got to fit somewhere. I mean, it really fits anyway. Look. See? I was noticing that the more you look at it, everything, this table, the objects on it, the refrigerator, this room, your nose, the world, suddenly you realize that there's some sort of cosmic harmony of shapes and sizes.
Une histoire compliquée. J'ai connu des gens.
Tu étais amoureuse?
Se servir de mon appartement.
C'est comme pendant la guerre d'Algérie.
J'ai un frère.
Sortir d'un mauvais rêve.
Partir en vitesse. Partir en vitesse. Partir en vitesse. Assommer.
Discussion.
This one's whatever this movie is a lot more obvious than that first one with the jump cuts. But I believe the jump cuts were him when he was pushing the lighter around.
Along the outside edge. Look, it fits there too. Yeah. But it fits there. And it fits like this, and like this, and this way too.
Oh, okay, yep.
And I bet you if
it kind of adds.
Split it in half, you know, it's got to fit somewhere.
Mm.
I mean, it really fits anyway. Look. See?
Hmm. So it kind of adds a bit of like jumpiness. Well, it is a jump cut, but it adds a kind of like awkwardness itself to the scene a little bit. That scene it does, right? Like a sporadicness. Like he seems like a bit of a spaz, the way he gives a shit about how this lighter fits in all these different angles. And that kind of adds to like the sporadicness of what this guy is talking about, I guess. So, okay, match cut. We heard about that. Read about it. Let's see what that is. One of the more famous and popular editing techniques out there is the match cut. This is when a new scene carries over elements from the preceding scene. So if you have a scene of a donut in one shot, the very next scene could be of a bagel, same shape, different object. It could also be of a city skyline in the day, immediately cutting to that same skyline at night. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Just a quick,
ever notice how certain
super quick example
stay with you? For me, it's this scene in Schindler's List. There's something about this moment that completely
that was also
changed the way I view
a fade too, right? Or dissolve, excuse me.
Things. It's the scene transition. But
from the smoke to the candle.
Transition. It's the match cut.
So that smoke from the candle turning into steam from the train. Pretty self-explanatory. We don't need to spend too much time looking at examples of that because we do got a few more. Montage. I think everybody kind of knows what a montage is. We'll still watch it a little bit, especially if they're going to give us Team America. Then we have to watch it. Montage is an interesting editing technique because it can mean different things depending on the context. Okay, let's check it out.
If you're going to storm Kim Jong-il's palace single-handed, we have to make you a complete soldier in very little time.
How are we gonna do that?
I think I know just what we need.
There you go. This is totally a parody of the 80s montage I was talking about. The like 80s rock music, of course. I'm sure the lyrics are hilarious because this is Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Always fade out in a montage. If you fade out, it seems like more time has passed in a montage.
That was great. That was fucking awesome. Okay, well, there you go. And shot, reverse shot. We did kind of guess this one, or went over this one too. This is the last one. It's one of the most common editing techniques, shot, reverse shot. If there's one editing technique outside of just your basic cut that's in almost anything, it's this. Two people talking will almost always feature a shot, reverse shot with a little bit of the 180-degree rule thrown in for balance. Okay, what's that? Just tell us what it is. One of the first things taught in film school. It is a helpful jumping off point because it introduces you to the practical rule of cinema and invites you to think visually. So what is the 180-degree rule? The 180-degree rule is a filmmaking guideline for spatial relations between two characters on screen. The 180 rule sets an imaginary axis or eye line between two characters or between a character and an object. By keeping the camera on one side of this imaginary axis, the characters maintain the same left or right relationship to each other, keeping the space of the scene orderly and easy to follow. When the camera jumps over to the invisible axis, this is known as crossing the line or breaking the line, and it can produce a disorientating and distracting effect on the viewer. Okay, so you must then decide which side of the line you will place each subsequent camera setup. Okay, let's just see. Ooh, coffee shop scene and Heat. I fucking love this scene. Legendary scene. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. First
How you doing?
on-screen moment together, I believe. Right here.
What do you say I buy you a cup of coffee?
For those of you that never seen this movie, Al Pacino is a cop and he's chasing De Niro, who's a robber.
Yeah, sure, let's go. Follow me.
"7 years in Folsom. In the hole for 3. McNeil before that. McNeil is tough, as they say.
You looking to become a penologist?
You looking to go back? You know, I chase down some crews, guys just looking to fuck up, get busted back. That you?
You must have worked some dipshit crews.
I worked all kinds.
So, the 180-degree rule. I mean, this is your shot, reverse shot. We're going from over Robert De Niro's shoulder to over Al Pacino's shoulder, and then back again.
You see me doing thrill seeker. Look, I still hold up. So
The 180-degree line, I'm assuming, is you're putting a line that's on the, I mean, it would be on Al Pacino's right, Robert De Niro's left, drawing a line in the scene, and then putting the camera on either side of that line. Does that make sense? We're on the far left side of the line. If we were watching this scene from Al Pacino's right, which that's where the camera is, we're on the far left of the line. the far right of the line would be behind his shoulder. Yeah.
Born to lose tattoo on my chest?
No, I do not.
Right. I am never going back.
Then don't take down scores.
Okay, well, you kind of get the idea. Pay attention to their eye line. Pacino looks camera right. De Niro looks camera left. Right. When, like I said, camera's over his right shoulder, camera's over his left shoulder. This keeps a sense of orientation. Okay. Some films and filmmakers have elected to keep a consistent line throughout the entire film. Oh, wow. This level of consistency is fantastic, and those films surely benefit from such ruthless attention to detail, but it isn't necessary for every story. There are moments where you can benefit from breaking or bending the 180-degree rule, and while they are up to interpretation, the feeling a line breaks generates should inform your decision. The feeling a line breaks generates, I think it's a line break generates, right? Managing scenes with multiple eye lines. Okay. The same line that separates the viewer from the performers is the same line you will use to maintain a constant screen direction. Ah, okay. So,
they were looking back in this direction. A container facility or cartage theft, too visible. Too low ball for them.
Next door is an oil refinery. Over there's a scrapyard.
Refinery only pays by check. No cash around. Same for the scrapyard.
Maybe they're stealing hubcaps. A refinery and a scrapyard. What the hell is going on?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. We thought we had. Thought we had.
I got an idea of what they're...
So, blocking. We went over blocking. Oh no, we'll be going over that in Mise-en-Scène. I watched a video on blocking for that here next week. I'm still not understanding how the 180 rule applied to that scene. I'm assuming maybe they're breaking it in that scene, because to me I didn't feel any straight line there that they were following there. But it's very interesting. Crossing the line in film. When you break the 180-degree line, you break the 180-degree rule and signal to the viewer that something is wrong. This should only be done intentionally and thoughtfully. Here's a scene from one of the many Spike Lee masterpieces, 25th Hour. The line runs across the room through Ed Norton to the detective played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr. It's clear Spike Lee's goal was to disorient viewers and put them in the shoes of Edward Norton's character. Let's start looking at the eye line match. Both of them are on camera left. Or both of them are looking camera left, excuse me. Interesting. Okay, yeah. This is used to disorient the viewers. Let's check it out.
Montgomery brother?
Yeah, that's me.
I'm Agent Flood with the Drug Enforcement Administration.
I can see that. What is all this?
We've got a warrant to search your apartment.
Are you serious? Go ahead. Hey, easy, Doyle.
Yeah, I don't see any tags on that dog.
He's inside. He doesn't need tags.
You better stay calm or I have the pound come get him. Seen too many men bit by these mean bastards.
Doyle.
you mind if I have a seat?
No, be my guest.
Miss Rivera, that's your name, right? I need you to stay right here, ma'am. Can't have you sneaking around. You know, this sofa's not very comfortable.
Maybe it's your posture. Your posture is very important.
No, it's this, Castro convertible. It's very uncomfortable. It's kind of lumpy. You know, I just don't understand it. It looks like such a nice sofa. How much did you pay for this sofa, Miss Rivera? Maybe it's the padding.
Booyah! Could be the padding.
Yeah. Probably the padding.
Come on, get it over with.
Yeah, I saw that coming. As soon as he talked about an uncomfortable couch, it's like, oh, there it is.
You know, it's a good thing I found this. It's gonna make your sofa so much more comfortable to sit on.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I was going to say, that's just a bunch of money. Like, I mean, the most you can do is turn that into the IRS, yeah. But that don't go to the IRS. You go to prison for that one. Yeah, you're fucked, buddy boy. Oof. Okay, well, I'm still not entirely clear on the 180-degree rule in that scene. They're both looking camera left, and that's breaking this line. One needs to be looking camera left and the other camera right, I'm supposing, since they would both be looking at each other. That one's one that I'm going to have to read up on a little bit more. Let me save this, though. This is a good place to start. Okay. So, let's look at the... here, let me turn this down. With a little bit of the 180-degree rule thrown in for balance, two or more people don't even have to be talking, as this technique can also be used to showcase reactions from one or more parties. I think we've kind of already went over the reverse shot. That was in the dining room scene for Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. So we can kind of bypass that one. Okay. And let's see. There was one more here that... Oh, hold on. My AirPods are acting up. Getting all funky on me. Need to, like, reset these guys. Okay. Let's see. Standard cut. A standard or hard cut jumps from one clip to another, like in Pulp Fiction, where Mia Wallace are having conversation. We kind of already went over that. That's no. J&L cuts. It's just one cut to the next to the next. Audio doesn't precede the cut. Or, what would it be? Precede means it comes before. It doesn't come after the cut neither. Like, it doesn't bleed into the next scene, right? J cut, that's when you get the J because the audio comes in before the next scene, before the cut. L cut, audio comes from, we have the cut, and then the audio from the previous scene bleeds into the next scene, yeah? So, and then match cut, where you're matching something from the previous scene. And remember, they gave us a good example of the candle with the smoke from, what was that, Schindler's List? The smoke turns into the steam from a train engine. Let's look at this again. Lawrence of Arabia, just for another example. A literal match cut using a match. That would also be an L cut, yeah, because the cut happens before the audio. We get audio from him blowing out the match into the next scene. So, cutaway shot. Did we go over this one? Yeah, we did. Cuts away to something else in the scene. Yeah, Okay. Cross cut. It's where we're jumping in between two different parallel editing, two different scenes happening at the same time. And again, there are examples at Silence of the Lambs film. Cutting in action, okay, is where there is a seamless cut between two different shots. And as a viewer, we barely notice the difference because it happens in the same time sequence. We might see a wide shot of the back of the man with a cake walking up to the driveway towards his house, and then a close-up of him turning the doorknob to let himself in, and perhaps back to a wide shot where the cake falls out of his hands, and a close-up where we see the cake dropping on the floor. Now, count the cuts in this sequence from Kill Bill. Oh, I already know this sequence. This is going to be a lot. Two, three.
我要睇下你嘅武功有幾深。出招。如果我輸俾你嘅話，我今日鬼就拜你為師。
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No. Yeah, there's 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 right there I got. That's just, I guess, cutting in action. It's just showing you what it looks like. Montage shot, went over that. Cut in. The cut in is when there is a close-up during the scene, which directs our focus to one area. For example, during a car chase, you might cut to a close-up of the accelerator, or in a coffee shop. A coffee shot, you might cut to a steaming coffee machine. Okay, let's just look at that real quick. That's pretty self-explanatory, but this is from Baby Driver. I still haven't seen all of this movie. I have it on my Vudu, but I haven't watched it all yet. That was a dope song.
The explosion.
There would be your cut-in close-up right there. There's a few cut-ins there, but okay, we get the hint. A smash cut. Last one they have on this list. And finally, a smash cut is a sudden jump from one scene to another. It can be a fast way to change a scene and drive the action forward. Reservoir Dogs has a scene where Steve Buscemi's character is having a quiet conversation, and then it immediately cuts to a bell ringing, and we see him running along a sidewalk holding a briefcase. If you don't recall that scene, here is a collection of impactful smash cuts from more recent films, and they don't have their video. Okay, so rules of editing cuts. Here's some interesting rules that might be worth noting from filmsupply.com. Okay, rule 1, let the story come first. The essence of the story is more important than the techniques. No amount of well-done transitions will make up for a story which is not well told. The editing techniques are like oil and brushes to a painter. I'm going to cough, hold on. The editing techniques are like oil and brushes to a painter, and what the audience cares about is your story. The final product, the painting, yeah. That makes sense. Every tool that you have at your disposal is meant to be used to make the painting better. You know, it's the same thing with any art, you know, making music. This is always being in a recording studio and having worked with a lot of electronic artists, EDM artists, dubstep guys, producers. And I myself, when I made EDM and dubstep music, I too had a problem with this. A lot of EDM producers have a problem, especially when they're starting out. You got Ableton, Logic, Fruity Loops, whatever your DAW is that you're making your song in, your workstation. And you got all these synthesizers, and there's just so many sounds, and there you have to really fight the want to just fill that whole screen up with as many sounds as possible, as many cool, crazy instruments and synths as you can find, you know. And by the time you'll end up getting one of their songs and it's time to mix it, it's like, bro, we got to cut at least 5 or 6 of these synths, because there's just no room in the mix for them, man. You're just way too much shit. You know, all of these synths are super cool, you know, but they have to be used at the right time in the right place. When you're just adding cool shit on top of cool shit, you know, it's all cool, but the audience can't hear any of it. And a lot of it doesn't even match anymore because it's just too much shit piled on too much shit. Things are getting masked and it doesn't sound good. Every tool that you have at your disposal. Okay. Think of like guitar techniques. Same with playing guitar. If you're a guitarist, you have all kinds of really cool techniques. You got tapping, you know, but if you sat there and tried to tap out a whole fucking song, you know, depending on the song, that could work. But if you're trying to tap out, you know, a whole fucking heavy metal song, you know, it's not going to sound as good as if you just strum your power chords on the chorus, right? Like that's what the power chords are for, to give you that oomph on those choruses, you know. And then when you get to the lead, tap out the lead, you know, do your tapping. If you're throwing in random bits of tapping all through in a song, it's going to sound like shit. Not every technique you have should be used all the time. Like, use them at your disposal for the sake of making the number one golden rule of anything is, if it's good, it's good, right? In music, the number one golden rule is, if it sounds good, it is good. Every other guideline is second to that, right? Same with writing. And I would imagine I would be willing to bet a lot of money that it's the same with movies. If it is good, it's good. If it's entertaining, it's good. If it serves a purpose and the story is good, then it's good. You know, and so you don't want to overdo anything, right? Or underdo it, neither. But every tool you have is used to make it better. And if it's not making it better, then you take it out. Rule number 2, let the action play out. It can be tempting to use lots of different editing techniques just because you have access to them, but sometimes you may want to keep the transitions minimal and allow the action of the scene to keep going until there is a good resolution. When an audience is watching a film and getting engrossed in the story, they don't want to be distracted by unnecessary cuts, as this may take them out of the action. I'm sure that's highly dependent on what the action is, but yeah, I mean, just not overdoing it, right? Having specific reasons for cutting from scene, shot to shot. Makes sense. I'm not an editor, but that makes sense. Harmonize the video with sound. The J cuts and L cuts are especially good for this, and there are other good techniques to ensure that the sounds and visions are working together to produce the best results. An extreme example would be a fast cut music video or promo where there are different cuts to different beats of the music, and the opposite would be a standard cut where what you see is what you get, no frills, just clean straight cuts. Okay, well, harmonizing it with sound, sure. Show thematic overlap. What is this, rule number 4? Yeah, my fucking printer always needs to turn itself on and clean itself while I'm streaming. In an earlier example, we looked at showing a transition of time from a young boy kicking a ball to the same ball being kicked by his older self after a passage of 50 years. This kind of cut shows a thematic overlap. And equally, you might want to contrast completely different scenes, which are still held together by one theme. So, for example, a movie like 4 Rooms, which has different stories that all take place in one hotel. So, thematic, using editing to maintain a thematic overlap between different scenes. Okay, cool. That sounds like good advice. Emotion before form. It is important that the cuts serve the emotional response you would like to elicit rather than using the editing styles just because you can. Similar to a chef who chooses ingredients based on a dish he is cooking, or a painter who selects colors based on the painting she is creating. It is great if you have access to different film editing cuts, and knowing how to use them will make you a better editor. The simplest rule to follow is story, 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 and ensure that the techniques serve the story rather than vice versa. Happy editing. Okay, so Oh, hold on, I got more noises. And so, yeah, anyways, yeah, I can get that. The whole point of the movie is to elicit an emotional response. So, okay, good rules. So let's go ahead and see these in action, right? And what was this? Oh, more types of transitions. Let's see. We already went over all this. Contrast. Oh, we didn't go over contrast or defocus. Dynamic cutting. We didn't go over that. We did it. Dissolve. Didn't try the ripple dissolve. The iris. We didn't. The invisible cut. The iris. Let's just hit this. We talked about this earlier in the stream, but just so we can see an example. Come on. I think that was a poor example.
West. Eureka! Go that west.
There, that's a good example. The closing in around the tooth. You saw how the black kind of like... Zoop. Here's one more. There you go. Pretty simple. Okay. Just so you can visualize that. Rid of that. We might get back to that. Look at a couple other different cuts. But let's see this in practice. So here is, let's see, what video is this? Let's move my pretty face over meow. Okay, this is Patrick 8 Willems. Give him a like. Got to go check out his channel. He's got a lot of good stuff. I haven't used his channel a lot on my film theory videos just because I just recently found his channel. Watched a couple videos and was like, oh, this dude's legit. He's got a lot of good information. And I've been waiting to use one of his videos on my stream. So we'll use this one, Matrix, a lesson in great scene transitions. So let's check out his video. Go ahead and give him a like and subscribe too, because he's got some pretty good videos if you're interested in this film theory type stuff.
Drives us. It's the question that brought you here. You know the question, just as I did.
What is the Matrix?
Well, Keanu, there are a lot of answers to that question, but today we're going to be talking about The Matrix as in the 1999 film written and directed by Lana and Lily Wachowski. It's one of the most important, popular, and influential movies of the past 20 years, but these days its legacy seems to be pretty much all based on a few surface-level things. Bullet time, black leather, and generally improving the quality of Hollywood fight scenes. What gets overlooked is that The Matrix is an astoundingly well-made movie, with some serious filmmaking.
I think the whole red pill thing, right? Getting red pilled. I mean, The Matrix, it is incredible how that became such a cultural fucking phenomenon. The idea of the blue pill and the red pill. I mean, it's crazy to think because that wasn't a thing before The Matrix. There was no such thing as getting red pilled or black pilled, blue pilled, any of that. You know, all of that online discourse about red pilling, whether it's like, you know, conservatives or the manosphere type stuff, like, you know, or getting black pilled, doomer pilled. None of that shit existed before The Matrix. It's really powerful. The influence this movie had on modern day culture 26 years later is just insane. So incredible. Yeah.
Craft that's worth studying. For all the cool, badass aesthetic elements, it's unlikely it would have become such a phenomenon if it didn't have such effective storytelling. Watching this movie, you realize how much care the Wachowskis put into every frame of it. There isn't a shot or edit that doesn't serve a clear purpose. Nothing.
Every frame, I'm excited to go over the frames because I'm sure that's very true. But from a writing perspective, a story perspective, they put so much thought into the story and the characters, and they just fucking killed it. The story is amazing. It's almost a perfect story. It really is.
Is haphazard, everything is precise. I could honestly make a 5-hour series analyzing the filmmaking of The Matrix, but for now I want to focus on a small element of it. One that back in 1999, nobody left the movie theater excitedly talking about, but one that's an essential part of what makes the movie work.
Imagine being able to build anything.
The commercials.
Just by thinking about it.
That's what it was.
Meet Base 44.
The scene transitions. If you break it down, movies are a collection of scenes, and the transition points between scenes are a major opportunity for a filmmaker to control the pacing, to impart information, or to give the audience subconscious clues. Most scene transitions that you see work kind of like this. A conversation in one scene ends, then cut to an establishing shot with a new location, then start a new dialogue scene there. That does the job, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's so much more that can be done. The first act of The Matrix is split into 8 sections. There's the cold open with Trinity, then Neo at his apartment, then Neo meeting Trinity at the club, then Neo at the office, Neo being interrogated, the car ride with the bug extraction, meeting Morpheus, and waking up in the real world. This act follows Neo entering 2 new worlds, the metaphorical world of Morpheus and Trinity and their little group, and then the actual real world. The way the act is structured, Neo keeps taking steps into Morpheus's world, then stepping back into his own. So he'll go to the club, then back to his ordinary apartment and office. Then he'll be interrogated by Agent Smith, then back home again. And when you look at the whole act laid out like this, you realize that every other scene starts the same way, with Neo waking up. The idea of waking up is basically a mantra in this movie.
You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up.
I mean, the final scene is set to the song Wake Up by Rage Against the Machine. And along with waking up, there's the recurring idea of dreaming.
You ever have that feeling?
God, dude, see what I mean? That's so fucking mind-blowing. Maybe not, maybe you're like, look at this fucking film nerd jacking off over this stupid shit. But dude, that's fucking mind-blowing. That's so cool that they put that much thought into this fucking movie, man. That's so awesome. Yeah, like just the fact that he's waking up in every scene and the idea of waking up is so important to the movie. And that's so funny too. I completely forgot about that. Was a huge fan of Rage Against the Machine back in the day. And yeah, the fact that the movie ends to wake up is, again, hilarious, dude. That's such on the nose, but in a way that's clever. Very fucking clever. You know, I love that shit. So,
Were you not sure if you were awake or still dreaming?
So before these are actually discussed in the dialogue, how does the movie lay the groundwork for these ideas? Through the transitions. When Neo decides to follow the White Rabbit and go to the club, literally taking his first step out of his mundane existence into this new world, the transition emphasizes this by cutting from the stillness and silence of one moment
Yeah. Sure. I'll go.
to the exact opposite. Immediately we're hit by movement and a wall of sound, which make it clear that we're in a very different place. And how does the movie shift us back at the end of the scene? Well, during the scene, the background music subtly shifts from Dragula to Minefields by The Prodigy.
Who are you?
My name is Trinity.
As Neo's conversation with Trinity reaches its end, the music builds, with a repeated noise that seems like it's part of the music, but that we will momentarily realize is his alarm
This
clock.
is an alarm clock.
That sound bridges the two scenes, guiding us from one into the next, giving
So what is that? Remember, that's a J cut.
us a moment of
Very
humor
clever
and
J
building
cut.
on the dreamlike feeling. Since the alarm cut off the previous scene and we never saw Neo leave the club and go home, it makes us wonder, was that just a dream? Skip ahead to the end of the interrogation scene and we get a similar transition. The bug pulled itself into Neo's belly button.
I was always told too, that scene, or not always told, but
Similar transition.
was
The bug-
read that this scene was kind of an ode to the short story, one of my favorite short stories ever written, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Fuckballs. Who wrote that? His name wasn't Fuckballs. Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison wrote that. Really good sci-fi. This movie has so many what's the callbacks, I guess, Easter eggs in it that reference other famous sci-fi stories and movies. It blows your fucking mind when you see a list of them, you know. Again, one of those things that the Wachowskis did with this, Wachowskis, I don't know how to say their last name. Wachowskis. If I try to say it, I'm going to fuck it up even more if I fuck with it. So we're just going to leave it there. Wachowskis. The amount of effort they put into just writing this story and putting all these little Easter eggs in to their favorite sci-fi movies was just like slow clap for these fuckers, man. It was just amazing. Like, they really did a brilliant job with this movie, you know. It's incredible.
Pulls itself into Neo's belly button, and we cut to him waking up in bed as if from a nightmare. It's an effective cut because it uses the motion of both actions to connect them. The bug goes down, Neo sits up, and the two scenes are linked by the sound of his scream. But again, this cut straight into him waking up makes us wonder if that previous scene really happened. The final scene of Act 1 begins with Neo waking up again, but this time not in his bed. To get there, the camera, imitating Morpheus's words from earlier in the scene, essentially tumbles down a rabbit hole, and by rabbit hole, I mean Neo's throat. The shot plunges into blackness, and then, for the first time in his actual body, Neo wakes up. Before this, each time he had woken up, he had stepped a little further into a new world. And now as he wakes up, he has entered it completely. Okay, I want to jump back and talk about the movie's first two transitions, the ones on either end of the cold open where Trinity escapes the agents. The first begins with the camera moving through the three-dimensional space of computer code, through a void, and into the hallway filled with police officers. The following one has the camera diving into the mouthpiece of a phone, then pulling out through the screen of Neo's computer. On first viewing, those seem like examples of the impossible CGI-aided camera move that became popular in the late 90s, but the truth is that they're providing important visual information that will make sense later on, and especially on a second viewing. We learn that the Matrix code actually makes up everything in this world, as exemplified by Cypher's line,
I don't even see the code. All I see is blonde, brunette, redhead.
And of course, what Neo sees in the climactic scene. So by moving through the code and into a tangible world, the transition is creating a link in our minds between the two. And same thing with the second transition, as the movie is giving us a clue by having the camera travel through the phone, just as the characters travel through the phone back into the real world. So when this transition is used again in the final scene, as the shot moves through the code and out through the mouthpiece of a phone, this time we understand what it means. Let's skip ahead. In Act 2, things slow down a bit as Neo...
Again, that much deep thought into just editing in between takes is so fucking mind blown, bitches. Mind blown.
Neo spends a lot of time learning about the history of the Matrix and how things work. But when the Wachowskis want to pick up the pace, they use transitions to do it. Several of these are what David Bordwell refers to as the hook, an audio-visual texture linking an element from the end of one scene to one at the beginning of the next. So when Neo utters his classic line,
people who come to the FBI are invested.
Nothing pisses me off more in these videos or these commercials.
I know
kung fu.
Morpheus replies,
"Show me."
And with a flash to white accompanied by a sound effect, we're now in a dojo with both of them clad in martial.
The only thing that I don't like about this video is that goddamn music. That music in the background, that dun, 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 it's absolutely killing me. I despise it.
Arts attire. Our minds immediately connect the iconography of the location enclosed to Neo's previous lines, so this jump forward makes sense to us. It's efficient storytelling. A few scenes later, in the agent training program, there's a similar transition with a line of dialogue providing a hook to a new scene. Morpheus gets a phone call, Tank says, "We got trouble," and boom, we're suddenly mid-chase, with the music announcing the urgency of the situation. There's a lot of talking in this section of the movie, which isn't a complaint. I think this is an example of really effective exposition, but it's important that the Wachowskis know when to use these transitions to pick up the pace and grab our attention. Further ahead in the act, transitions are employed to emphasize Cypher's betrayal. In the scene where he chats with Neo, they drink a gross homemade alcohol.
Good shit, huh?
the only thing available to them in the real world. Then, as the scene ends, Cypher says,
"Sweet dreams," again
making an allusion to the Matrix as a dream world, as we have a quick shot of the Matrix code and then a close-up of juicy, delicious steak, a sharp contrast to the beverage of the previous scene. And for the transition into the next scene, the film cuts straight into a shot of whatever this goop is that they're eating. It's using food in these transitions to draw a contrast between the two worlds, underlining Cypher's decision. Let's move on to the third and final act.
I mean, that is interesting because he does very explicitly talk about how much he loves eating the steak, even though he knows it's not a real steak. Like, he even says it in the scene. I fucking love this steak, even though I don't know if this is what a steak is supposed to taste like. It's just the code telling my mind it tastes like that. It's still amazing, you know? So it does very much underscore his intentions or why he's betraying them, right? Or his motivation for the betrayal is, this is what we have, this nasty ass shit, this drink, and this fucking goop, or this steak that it's code, but that's goddamn tasty code, you know? So
this one is pretty linear, since while the previous acts take place over days, this takes place over maybe a couple hours. So the transitions pretty much follow the action, but there are some that are really interesting. Check out how music is used as we cut from Smith's monologue into Neo arriving in the lobby.
You're going to die.
There's this metallic percussion that's synced exactly with Neo's footsteps. Because of the link between the sound and the action, our mind connects the two, and since the sound began in the previous scene, it retroactively gives the impression of Neo marching forward concurrently with Smith talking. Much of this sequence is split between two lines of action, Neo and Trinity moving through the building, and the agents with Morpheus in the interrogation room.
That's that cross-cutting, right?
To create a link between the two, the Wachowskis used some clever transitions. This explosion occurs in the lobby, making the sprinklers turn on in the room, so the transition is a cause and effect between the two scenes. Then, as it shifts locations
that
again,
is very clever.
One scene ends with a close-up of this agent, as it cuts to a close-up of this guy, linking the two in our minds because momentarily, that agent will take over his body. Way back when I was in middle school, The Matrix was the movie that made me want to make movies. If you had asked me why at the time, I would have told you something about how awesome it was and how much I loved the fight scenes. All of that is still true, but what I definitely couldn't articulate back then is that a large part of why this movie is so engaging is that you're watching two filmmakers in total control, using every tool at their disposal. The Matrix is a pretty ambitious movie. In a little over 2 hours, it has to establish multiple levels of reality, the mythology of a future world, its rules, create a mystery, and also tell an exciting action thriller story. For that to work, its storytelling needs to be efficient, and this is a great example of how much heavy lifting can be accomplished simply by knowing when to end a scene and what shot to start a new one on. This is a testament to what can be done when you refuse to be lazy with your filmmaking. Oh, and check out how they use a match cut to quickly move us between two planes of reality.
This will feel a little weird.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
That's pretty awesome. This guy's video is really awesome. His whole channel, Patrick 8 Willems. Definitely go check this guy's channel out. I'll leave a link to his channel and this video, obviously, in the description of the YouTube video, so you can go show him some love because his videos are really, really good. And I've been excited to use one of his videos on stream just because it's so much good information, right? So we've watched a video on what good editing looks like, right? Now we're going to go over to Thomas Flight, another YouTube channel. I haven't watched any of his videos yet. This is going to be my first Thomas Flight video. I found it, found his channel when I was setting up this stream, obviously. So I didn't have time to watch any of his other videos, but let's watch this video. This is going to give us the opposite. This is going to be terrible editing. This is going to be a breakdown of the terrible editing in the live action Mulan. Okay, so let's see what he has to say so we can have two examples of good editing and then an example of bad editing, right?
If you fade out, it seems like more time has passed, and oh my.
3, 2, 1, go.
The Disney live-action remake of Mulan has some pretty terrible editing. At first, I wasn't going to make this video because I felt like it would overlap too much with what I've already covered in my video about Bohemian Rhapsody's terrible editing. But I think the editing in Mulan is bad in a slightly different way, and I think there's an opportunity to talk here about not just what's bad about Mulan's editing, but about why bad editing happens and whose fault it is, a much more complex and difficult question to answer. Most of Mulan's editing isn't that bad. While it's not winning any awards, it's also not mind-numbing or super distracting. But there are several scenes that sort of boggle the mind. The first is the opening set piece where Mulan runs through her village chasing a chicken. The issue with this scene is that it often breaks continuity of action. Breaking continuity isn't always bad, but it can cause problems when it makes it unclear what action is happening, or when the audience notices the break in the continuity and it creates an unwanted jarring effect. Let's focus in on just a couple sections. This cut right here is essentially a jump cut. You can obscure a significant jump forward in time by cutting to a different angle, but this cut isn't to another angle. It looks like it's probably just a digital zoom, and such a small amount of zoom isn't nearly enough to cover such a big discontinuity in action. To make matters worse, there are two of these cuts back to back, both breaking continuity and creating a jump cut effect. The second cut is especially
it is very jarring
it's a cut
too,
back
right?
in time instead of
like that is, it makes that whole scene, I feel like what they were trying to go for with that scene was maybe, because I remember seeing this when it first came out, and I also remember the backlash from this movie too. Nobody liked this. Well, not nobody, because I think my cutie pie thought it was okay. She still likes the original cartoon way better. Everybody does that, I know. Likes the original Mulan way better, because the original Disney Mulan was fucking dope. Really awesome story. This one just didn't hack it. And it's very interesting that it also has terrible editing too. I don't think a lot of people would put editing on the list of reasons why they didn't like Mulan, but it's probably a reason, subconsciously. And I remember this scene explicitly, just like the fight scene in the beginning that they showed. You know, that fight scene was a little bit different. I could understand some of the decisions because it made it feel a little disorienting. This one, there's no reason this scene needs to be so jarring and disorienting, right? They're making it feel almost too fast-paced, like anxiety-inducing level of fast-paced with all these short little jumps. And there's no need for it because she's chasing a fucking chicken. It doesn't need to be intense like that, you know? When you're chasing a fucking chicken, a life or death fight, that makes more sense. Jump cuts then make more sense. And I don't think we had any jump cuts in that Kill Bill. I'd have to go back and watch it. That we saw that action sequence from Kill Bill when she was fighting Pai Mei. The bride was fighting Pai Mei, and there was definitely, I don't know if there's any jump cuts. You know, there was a lot of cuts in that. There's 13 cuts in that one 50 seconds or whatever a film that was there. But the action, again, it's an intense scene. You know, if she can't hit Pai Mei, this old man, she doesn't get to train with him, you know? And so there is a lot at stake here. Here, she's just trying to catch a fucking chicken. The whole point of this scene is just to establish that even when she was young, she was still a badass. And you don't need these crazy transitions to establish that. I don't know if that's what they were going for or not, but he's got a very good point here by pointing this all out. I'm already liking this dude's video. Did I already give him? I didn't give him a like yet. Give him a like. This video stays up with this much quality. We're going to link his YouTube channel in the comments too, or in the description too, so you can go check it out.
Forward, which makes it even more jarring. Let's look at another section.
See, and
between these,
that short little bit of action, there's no reason to do jump cuts in that and move forward when it's just such a short little piece of action anyways. What the fuck is the point, right? Or I guess that's my thought process. I don't know. Let's let this guy talk. He knows more than me.
Shots, Mulan suddenly changes the direction she's facing, and these cuts skip more significant portions of action. This close-up of her leg is especially puzzling to me. It's not well composed for what it's showing. It's not really necessary to understand the action, and it's kind of confusing in conjunction with the other shots. It seems like the main focus of the action here would be on her upper body and her face as she pulls herself up onto the ledge, but that's just completely missing from the scene altogether.
Yeah. Very good point, man. The composition on some of those shots is just absolutely horrible, too. That's not necessarily editing, you know, but that is a wild choice.
Issues in a scene are usually not a big deal. Very good editing will often have small continuity issues in the action. Look at this cut from my favorite scene in The Godfather where the hand lowering the cigarette breaks continuity. This kind of thing happens all the time in movies and you usually don't notice it. But there are two reasons why these continuity errors stand out in Mulan. The first is that there are so many back-to-back at such a fast pace. The second is that this is an action scene and the continuity issues are with the primary action. Continuity issues are usually more forgivable when the focus of the scene is on a conversation, drama, or an emotion. When we're focusing on people's faces, we tend to be blind to small continuity errors in the action. But this scene in Mulan is put forth as an action scene, so when you disrupt that action visibly, it's much more noticeable because the action is what we're focusing on. You might notice that part of the problem with these scenes is that they're edited so quickly, and while that's definitely a problem here, fast editing isn't inherently bad. It just tends to amplify other issues in editing. So I want to mainly focus on those issues that the fast pace of editing is merely exacerbating. Let's return to the section I showed you at the beginning.
Interesting. Okay. I could totally see that, though, because you're getting so many more edits. When you're editing quickly, you're getting so many more edits in such a small span of time. I mean, that's literally what it means to edit quicker, right? You're going to have more editing, more edits, more cuts in any particular length of time. And so more, if those cuts are bad, it almost, well, you're getting a shit ton of bad cuts in. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
The video.
This scene. Right. All the angles, the camera angles that he's using, I can kind of understand why it kind of adds to the disorientation. I don't know why the audience needs to necessarily feel disoriented during this scene, but I can understand because they do use that in other action scenes in other movies. These off angle, remember, what is that called? We went over this in camera angles. We're not on a flat plane. We're slightly tilted. Fuck. What's the name of that? Canted angles? No, I'm fucking that up. Well, you know, we only went over it for like 2 hours. We're gonna have to we'll revisit that here when we finish all the 8 elements. But in any case, yeah, there's a lot of just the shots themselves were kind of disorienting, and I didn't feel like they needed to be. See, like that.
What is even going on here? It just looks like chaos. If we slow it down and look at just a small section at a time, we can see what was attempted and where it's going wrong. This first cut
let's check it out, bro.
Bad. Even this one's mostly fine, but this one completely interrupts the flow of action. To help hide cuts, editors often time a cut in the middle of an action. Because your eyes are following the continuing action from shot to shot, the cut becomes less noticeable when it's placed in the middle of that action.
Interesting.
While this cut is technically in the middle of a single motion, it happens right as that motion is changing direction. So when the cut happens, the action continues in a direction that is different from the one you're expecting, which makes it confusing. The biggest offender then comes right here. The direction of action in this shot seems to be setting up a blow to this soldier with her staff, but in the next shot she actually seems to be hitting him with her arm. I say seems to because you can clearly see that she doesn't. Usually filmmakers will use an angle for a strike like this that actually hides the lack of contact between the stunt people, but here they choose a full profile for some reason that completely reveals the artifice of the moment. Then we cut away.
Wow, that is a major boo-boo right there, man. Holy shit. Yeah, you can see she doesn't even make contact with the fucking guy.
That she doesn't. Usually filmmakers will use an angle for a strike. Actually seems to be
look
hitting
at
him with her arm. I say seems to because you can clearly see
so
that she...
there was a continuity error in there where she's swinging the staff, and then in the next shot she's uppercutting him with a flat hand too, by the way. You don't uppercut people like that, right? That's gonna fuck your fingers up. And she doesn't even touch him. So wow, that is doubly bad. Oh, hey, what's going on, Razor? Here, let me hit you up in the chat. I'm doing good, man. What are you doing? We're just going over some what was today? Hold on, let me deep dive into editing. That's what it was. So yeah, we're just going over some editing videos here. Right now, we're watching a video on the really crappy editing of the Mulan live action movie, if you haven't seen that. So that's what we're doing now. But how are you doing, man? Hope you're having a good night at work too. You should be getting off here soon. Yeah, like an hour and a half or something like that, I think. But hopefully you had a good day so far and you're having a good day at work, man. Nice to see you hopping in the chat. Okay, so we'll continue. Let this guy speak on just how horrible this action is.
Like this that actually hides the lack of contact between the stunt people, but here they
that
choose
is
a full
so bad.
profile for some reason that
get my face out of here. I know I'm handsome, but
of the moment. Then we cut away to a wide. If you look closely, continuity is technically maintained here. The soldier is falling away properly behind her, and her hand is moving away in the right place. But when the clip is moving at full speed, you can't tell because the composition blocks out the view of the continuing action. So the effect is that there's no continuity of movement, even though there technically is. Then she reaches in to grab this guy's neck, another action which is mostly obscured by the composition. We then cut directly across the 360-degree line of action, something that's okay sometimes, but in this case just adds to the confusion in the midst of an already fast-paced and chaotic scene. We then immediately cut to this shot, which not only doesn't add any new information to the scene at the cost of the slight disorientation of a cut, but it's actually a worse shot, the subject of the scene.
The 360.
We then cut continuing action, so the effect is that there's no continuity of movement, even though there technically is. Then she reaches in to grab this guy's neck, another action which is mostly obscured by the composition. We then cut directly...
You can't even see her grabbing his neck. Because of the other dude.
Then she reaches in to grab this guy's neck, another action.
This guy right here is, you know, fucking can't even see it. That's just crazy.
Mostly obscured by the composition. We then cut directly across the 360-degree line of action, something that's okay sometimes, but in this case just adds to the confusion in the midst of an already fast-paced and chaotic scene.
We did kind of go over that with the 180-degree line. Why that's not something you would want to break. And maybe this is a good example of that. This scene is really fucking disorienting. Perhaps that's why they keep breaking that constant line, you know?
And immediately cut to this shot, which not only doesn't add any new information to the scene at the cost of the slight disorientation of a cut, but it's actually a worse shot. The subject of the shot, her face, is out of focus. I could continue to break down each cut, showing how all these little problems add into this giant mess, but that would be tedious and long and
I love it. I feel like you should, bro.
I think it's more interesting.
Dude, this guy is doing a really good fucking job, isn't he? Like, I didn't catch on half the stuff. Obviously, you just have to slow it down, really. You know what I mean? But it's really awesome. Like, the guy's doing such a good fucking job with these, pointing out all these cuts and making me understand, because I remember watching this scene. Here, hold on, bro, what are you doing? Oh, sorry. Okay, here we go. Popping myself back up. Yeah, but I remember watching this scene when it first came out and how disorienting it really was. And this guy's just perfectly showing why it is. You know, he's doing such a great fucking
to start
job.
trying to figure out why the editing is
This your bag, sir?
What gave it away?
Oh, you the Geico Gecko!
And of course, gotta
I
give
filed
us
a claim for my car with the Geico app.
There we
like
go.
this. The easy answer you might jump to is the editor is a bad editor. But it's not that simple. Sure, this could be the case, but in filmmaking, it's not safe to assume that the editor is necessarily the cause of these problems. If we look at some of the other scenes in the film, David Coulson, the editor of the film, clearly can edit a scene. There's nothing wrong with this scene, for example.
You must be courageous, Mullah. For your mother and your sister. For me.
We also know that Coulson has 44 editing credits to his name, and while experience doesn't guarantee
Oh,
skill,
wow.
it's unlikely he's just a bad editor. Sometimes a scene will come out like this because the editor just doesn't have the right material to work with, or is being forced to try to cover up other issues with the filmmaking. In a scene
Sure.
like this,
I mean, we kind of went over this earlier. I guess we didn't, but we can go over it now. Well, we did. The editor is working with raw footage, you know, from that was shot from the director. The director, we kind of went over this with the continuity editors. The continuity editors can be the editor's fault, but it can also be the director's fault. The director should, and people underneath him, but ultimately he's responsible for making sure everything that's set in the scene is set the same way every time they shoot, and there's no difference in continuity, right? And so if a director gives an editor a whole bunch of shitty raw material that is just not, the editor's doing the best that he can, then yeah, man, you know, like, so that's a good consideration. It could have just been a really bad director.
issues could be bad cinematography. This shot would seem to indicate that that might be.
Yeah, like that's one thing, man. Like the blocking on this shot, having this guy fuck up the whole scene where you can't even tell that she's grabbing the other guy's throat, like that would be very bad cinematography.
One problem, if a wide that clearly shows the choreographed action is never shot, the editor just can't cut to it. I think bad cinematography is actually the main issue in this scene. The camera is all over the place. It's on the ground, it's on the roof, and almost every cut seems to introduce a new angle and perspective in this village, and it creates an incredibly spatially jarring scene, something that's only amplified by the breaks in continuity and the pace. It could also be bad stunt choreography or performance. If the actions aren't choreographed well, it will be more difficult to properly shoot and edit, and more mistakes or obvious fakeness will have to be covered over in the edit. We can see some evidence that this might be the case in moments like this one. Here she seems to grab the soldier's throat, but then a few shots later she's obviously not. Is this a flaw in performance? Is it bad choreography? If issues like this are visible within the film, who knows what kind of issues were there that we can't see because they had to be covered over in the editing. Bad sound design can also factor in. For this shot, look at the trajectory of the throw star. The shot doesn't track with the movement, and the star clearly hits before we hear the impact, and the stunt actor flies backward well after the impact has happened. All of this adds to the jarring confusion of the scene, and none of it is the fault of the editor. All of these things are things that it's the editor's job to try to overcome, but the editor can't make something out of nothing or work magic. On top of that, toss in a producer or director who might be telling the editor to spice things up and make it faster or more exciting, while working in an environment that is pressuring you to get things done quickly and meet deadlines. All of this together, and you can easily see how the bad editing in a scene like this may not be the fault of the editor at all. To complicate things, it's possible to lose sight of a scene as you're working on it. Just in making this video, I've looked at these scenes so much that I know the action the characters are going to take, and this knowledge makes the scene make more sense to me and feel less jarring than they did the first few times I watched them. But I have to trust the experience I had watching them the first few times. This is something called exposure blindness, and when it happens, an editor can lose sight of what it's really like for someone to watch a scene for the first time. This is a trap that editors have to work to avoid, and I think it's one that even experienced editors can fall into from time to time. It's why it's so important to bring in fresh eyes to see your work. But whether it's the editor's fault or not, we can't really know. Unless we have an objective and complete view of the film's behind the scenes, we're just left to speculate. Ultimately, we're faced with the fact that when we talk about editing in film, we're really referring to two different things: the progression from one shot to another on the screen, and the act of editing performed by the editor. If we think about it in that way, we can say this scene has bad editing, but we can't necessarily infer from that David Coulson is a bad editor. In fact, given the material he had and the problems he had to try to solve, this might have been the best he could have done.
Yeah, the dude might have been a really
for
good
sponsoring
editor,
this video.
actually.
Start listening with a 30-day free Audible trial. With that trial, you get one
Okay. Well, there you have it. That's really good examples of bad editing. So, let's see. Thomas Flight. Good fucking job, dude. I'm subscribed to his channel. Sweet. Yeah, I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel in the description of the video. So you guys can check out more of his stuff, because that was a really well done video. I think he did a great job of explaining just why that editing was bad, because I very much remember those scenes, watching them in the movie theater when that first came out. Or, excuse me, when that Mulan, live action Mulan first came out. And I very explicitly remember not enjoying that scene at all. I'm feeling very disorientated. And, well, there you go. There's your reason why. I'll also link in the description a link to this, why Dune's editing feels different. This is another Thomas Flight video. We won't go over it today, but I'll link it in the description to my video, so you can go check it out. We had another good one from Thomas Flight, when the editing is bad on purpose, which I was hoping to get to tonight, but we already kind of ran out of time, so won't be able to get to that one. And then, oh, I guess this was another Thomas Flight. Wow, you guys are going to just get a shit ton of Thomas Flight YouTube videos. Parasite's perfect editing. This one was the next one I wanted to watch. We're not going to get to that. And then Studio Binder, we always hit up Studio Binder. That's just an always good. I'm going to like all these, even though I haven't seen all of them yet. Studio Binder is always such a good YouTube channel, so I'll link that video. And then we had another really good Studio Binder video. I did watch this one before the stream. It kind of goes over, it goes over eyeline match, which we talked about. The rule of 6, cross-cutting. We're gonna have to take that off. There we go. Eye trace, split editing, intellectual montage, and cut in action, which we kind of already went over a couple of those. We didn't go over the intellectual montage, split editing, and eye trace. We didn't go over cross-cutting, eyeline match, the rule of 6. We didn't go over. We can hit that real quick. What exactly is the rule of 6?
What if you could taste the movies?
I don't remember this at all.
We turned that idea into an $11.3 million business with Wix.
Almost.
Famed editor Walter Murch laid out his Rule of 6, a list of prioritized criteria when deciding on each cut. How we pace a scene can affect emotion, style, and tone. Is your scene mournful and contemplative? Hold on shots for longer.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Is your scene filled with frantic action? Rapid cutting might be in order. Deciding what to cut to is equally important. An editor might use a cutaway to indicate what's on a character's mind. Or cut to what a character is looking at. No matter the reason, every edit should be thoughtful and purposeful. For a detailed explanation on the Rule of 6, you'll find a link to our blog in the description. This brings us to our first editing fundamental: eyeline. An eyeline match is when an editor cuts to the object of a character's attention.
So we remember we went over that, right? Eyeline match, cross-cutting, eye trace. Let's just hit that real quick, what that's about.
Now, let's look at a technique which is designed to keep the audience's attention fixed to a specific part of the frame. Eye trace. Eye trace is when an editor cuts between two or more shots that focus on the same area of the frame. This allows the viewer's eyes and attention to stay focused without having to scan the frame after each cut.
Welcome! Skål! Skål!
Interesting. Okay.
Eye trace can also be used through blocking and camera movement, guiding a viewer's eye within a shot. But let's look at how editors can achieve a similar effect. Eye trace is ideal for action scenes.
The editing on this fucking movie was so good. The Mad Max Fury Road, some of the coolest editing I've ever seen. So
to move quickly.
This is one of those movies when the editing was so fucking good that it stood out. You noticed the editing, not because it was bad, like I said earlier. That's a lot of times the only time you notice the editing is when it really sucks, but because they did such a fucking brilliant job.
Mad Max Fury Road makes heavy use of this technique. Here's DP John Seal explaining this decision.
Compositionally, whatever was the center point of that shot had to be in the center of the frame. In the faster cutting that he's got, your eye won't have to shift on an anamorphic frame to find the next subject when you've only got 1.8 seconds of time to do that. All we would hear all the time on the comms was George saying, put the crosshairs on a nose, put the crosshairs on a nose. And that is basically the whole of the film.
Some shots in the film are less than a second long. Using eye trace, the composition and editing of these scenes helps the viewer process even the most chaotic action.
Interesting.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000? Because I use Amazon AI. I'm gonna...
Yeah.
Our next type of cut also helps smooth over a transition. Split edits. While a hard cut changes both audio and video at the same time.
Now we're going to slow it down a little bit. I'm guessing most of you folks have heard.
A split edit changes either the sound or image before the other. This is either a J cut or an L cut. They get their names from what they look like in an editing timeline. A J cut is when audio from a shot begins to play before we see it.
Excuse me. Is that your car on the lot?
Yeah.
That's a nice ride.
Thanks, man.
County Azov.
Hey, George Belfort. Nice to meet you.
For an L cut, the audio from a shot plays after we've already cut away.
So this is the split editing they're going over. Let's hop. What was this? Intellectual montage.
What if we want to make a cut more noticeable? Not.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what an intellectual montage is. So let's learn.
Intellectual montage. Intellectual
you know what a montage
puts
is.
Seemingly unrelated images together in order to create a certain feeling or idea. This type of montage.
That movie was so fucked up. Requiem for a Dream. Oh, God, dude. It's a good movie, but I really can't watch that shit. Like, I watched it maybe twice, I think, total in my life, and it's just too much. It's just way too much every time you watch it. It's just overwhelming with the emotion.
Of the Kuleshov effect, which refers to creating meaning out of a cinematic juxtaposition. We take this man's expression to mean different things based on the image intercut with him. In this scene from Lucy, as her boyfriend tries to convince her to deliver a briefcase,
I can't deliver the case myself. I had a little falling out with the guy. It's nothing major, but if it's you, problem solved.
we get this shot.
Look, you can even see the reception from here.
Two separate scenes combine to create a single idea. She is walking into a trap.
I'm here for, Mr. Jane.
As the scene plays out, we get another series of juxtaposing imagery. Lucy is being stalked, unaware of just how much danger she is in. In Don't Look Up,
there's another movie that does that to a much less success. The Counselor was, I forget who made that movie, had a lot of famous actors in it, but The Counselor does that same thing where it shows like predator animals and prey animals and interlaces them with certain characters to kind of give you that subconscious realization on who's the predator and who's the prey. And it works a little bit less than it does in that scene, because in that scene, it's very clear what they're saying. In The Counselor, I remember watching it and being like, what's happening here? And then by the end of the movie, I was like, oh, I get it. Okay, that's the predator and they're the prey. Okay, my bad. But it was a little bit disorienting at first.
intellectual montage is used to emphasize the global scale of an impending disaster. A comet is going to wipe out life on Earth.
We're all 100% for sure gonna die!
But Randall and Kate's warning is falling on deaf ears. Then we get this series of shots.
You're gonna die! You're gonna die! You're...
Isolated, these shots would have a neutral connotation, but placed in this context, we are asked to make the connections ourselves. From massive cityscapes to microscopic organisms, everything will be affected by the impending disaster. By using intellectual montage, director Adam McKay is able to visually reiterate larger themes in the film. This experimental technique is a great way to evoke emotion and meaning out of shots that individually wouldn't have them. Moving on to our final technique.
Very interesting. Okay,
Cut
intellectual
on action.
montage.
off, Hitler.
Cutting on action refers to cutting during a character or object's movement.
Roku Ads Manager puts Roku's reach within your reach. Sign up at ads.roku.com.
Over 8,000 men have permanently broken free from the P word by watching one single video training that you can actually watch by clicking the link below.
When the out point of shot A corresponds directly to the in point of shot B, it creates a more seamless transition. This technique can be used for simple actions like taking a drink or shaking hands. Most editors working in any genre will use cutting on action to create smoother cuts that feel more natural to the audience.
Him sitting down.
And it is often found in fight scenes because it lends itself to fast-paced rhythm and quick movements.
We kind of seen that in Mulan, how they fucked that up, right? Because there was continuity errors in their cuts.
Like the fight.
You look at that scene. Let me just go back to that and look at how much smoother all that action was, even with all those cuts, compared to that Mulan scene.
Found in fight scenes because it lends itself to fast-paced
You know exactly
rhythm and quick movements.
The movement everybody's taking. There's no secret
Like the
who's
fight
doing what.
between Neo and Morpheus in The Matrix Resurrections. A very common cut on action in fight sequences is to cut on impact. This gives each punch and kick extra force. Notice how the cuts in this fight are placed in the middle of one character's move. punching in from a wide to a dramatic close-up. By cutting on action throughout this scene, director Lana Wachowski is able to keep up the pace, strengthen the stunts, and create a more epic feeling to the fight.
Okay.
So,
those are some pretty good techniques just to know, too. Have those in the arsenal. Okay. I'll link this video, too, obviously, in the description. Studio Binder videos are always good stuff, man. Always help with these film theory videos that we do. And then I'm going to be linking Thomas Flight's video on Dune, Bad Editing on Purpose, Parasite's Perfect Editing, and Studio Binder's 3 proven film editing techniques in Star Wars. Okay, so if you're interested and you've stuck around for the video for this long, definitely go into the description. Check those videos out. Give these channels, Studio Binder and Thomas Flight, a little more love because they're making some pretty good movies. Oh, look at, and my video's done uploading to YouTube. Great. Okay, well, that does it for me, man. That is the end of our what was this stream? Oh, deep dive into editing. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's it for our deep dive into editing, right? And this actually lasted, we were able to make this video last a little bit longer than I thought it would. I thought that was going to be a very quick video. The next film theory video that I do won't be next Friday, but the Friday after, we'll be doing deep dive into mise en scène. That one will be a little bit longer because there's a lot to cover in mise en scène. A lot of people talked about blocking today when we were going through these videos, and you may not know what blocking is, but we'll be going over that not next Friday, but the Friday after. So that does it for this week's Film Buff Friday. Next time, I don't stream on the weekend, so I won't be seeing you here in the next 2 days. I will be streaming next on Monday, and I think Monday, I had a couple different options that we could go over. A couple different ideas for a stream here. What did I have? Let's bring this down. I had... Okay. Death cults. Oh, no, that's it. Death cults. Okay, so we'll be going over death cults. I have a whole little stream put together on the scariest death cults that have ever existed, right? So we'll be going over that for a few hours. That'll be on next week's Morbid Monday. And I will see you guys then. To everybody who watched live, thank you for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate you guys' support, and I hope you enjoyed the stream. To Razor, it looks like Razor went back to work, but still, if you hop back and watch the rest of the stream, man, I appreciate you hopping in and sending a message. Oh, there you are. I thought that you had actually gone. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, that is a long time then. Yeah, I know how that is. Yeah, I don't need to answer you in the chat. Yeah, I know how that is. I have a few different cousins that live in different cities. Actually, a whole half my family lived in a completely different city and in a different state. And we only got to see them. I mean, we got to see them once or twice a year, I guess. But yeah, when you don't get to see them that often, a week is a very long time. So that's awesome you're taking that amount of time to go hang out with your cousin, though. That'll be really good for both you guys. And you always, you know, that's the kind of stuff that you remember when you get older and you're just too busy to go hang out with your cousins anymore. The memories you make when you're young are really important. That's the kind of stuff you carry with you into adulthood. That is, I mean, it makes your childhood that much better. It does. So I'm excited for you, man. That'll be a blast. That'll be a good time, man. I hope you guys have a blast this week. Get to do a lot of fun stuff. Get to watch a really cool movie tomorrow too. I'm really excited to hear what kind of movie you guys go check out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. My family is that way, which is good. I'm very thankful for that, very blessed for that my family is very welcoming regardless of differences or anything like that. Some people don't have those kinds of families, so it doesn't always work out that way, but it should work out that way. Families should always be there to have your back and care for you regardless of what the situation is, and yeah, it's people who have that, like myself. Sounds like your family's that way too. We're lucky to have that, man. We had good families, and I know a lot of people who didn't have that, and that sucks balls, because that's absolutely what family's supposed to do, man. So I'm glad that you got family that does that, though. I'm glad you got an awesome cousin that you can go chill with, and I'm excited to hear what movie you guys. Oh, hold up. Because before I go, let me just add you while I remembered, add you on Instagram. Am I on? Okay. Because I tried to add you last time, and oh, that's the wrong button. I'm still getting used to Instagram, man. Not now. Okay. Can you post your Instagram up in the chat again? UK, can you do that? Because you did it last time, and I saved it, and then went up and ate and came back down, and the whole fucking chat was gone. So I looked up your name as you... Oh, no, I spelled it wrong. I put the I before the E. Or the one before the E. Ah, okay. Thank you. There it is. I just gotcha. Okay. All right, sweet. Yeah, I just followed you on Instagram. Okay, thanks, man. Yeah, last time I tried to do it, but the fucking chat went away, and then I couldn't remember what exactly your Instagram was. And what I did is I misspelled it. So I forgot to put that extra I in there is what happened. So, but still though, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited to see what movie you guys go watch tomorrow. And then getting a whole week to spend with your family, that'll be a blast. That's really nice, I don't think I see anybody in my family until my parents come down for my birthday here in about a month and a half. So about 6 weeks. 6 weeks we'll be hanging out with my parents, so that'll be nice. Oh, okay. Here, let me check that out. Yeah, man. I've only ever been to a couple weddings in my life, but they were both really cool. It was a blast too. Oh yeah, there it is. See, I still don't know how to do a story. If you look at my page, I don't have any stories because I don't fucking know how to do like the stories and shit. I'm so brand new to that. Looks really nice though. Wow, I really like the scenery that it's in. Very well. What's the word? Classy. Very classy wedding, man. Looks really, really cool. Good for them, man. I bet they're excited. Yeah, festive atmosphere, not overdone. Yeah, man, very much. No, I really like I'm trying to remember the word, not the scenery, the place where it happens. You know the word I'm trying to remember right now? God, I can't think of it. Like, the interior of the fucking building. God, like, there's a word for it, and I just can't remember it right now. It's killing me. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Either way, though, it looks really nice, though. The whole setup looks really nice, all the chairs and stuff. So, yeah, man, that was probably a lot of fun to do. You did that before work tonight? Go check out the wedding. That's pretty awesome. Oh, is it really? Oh, that's really cool. Oh, neat. What does it say? What does that written word say? I remember seeing that. What was the blessing on that word? Hmm. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, actually, Trump. Oh, okay. Popular prayer for blessings and success. Nice. That's really cool, man. That's nice of you to do that. That's badass. Well, good, man. I mean, that sounds like a pretty fun day. Got to go check out your cousin's wedding. Then you only got, what, an hour left of work? Then you get to go hang out with your cousin for a week. Are you off of work for a week? No work for a whole week and get to go chill with your cousin? That'd be a fucking blast, man. Yeah, usually when my parents come to town, I usually take a week off and just show them a good time and hang out with them, take them all around town, go do fun stuff. This time, this will be the first time they come to town and get to hang out with me and my girlfriend. Me and my girlfriend have gone out to my parents' place to hang out with them, but they've never came down here to Nashville to hang out with us. So that'll be fun because we got a whole bunch of different restaurants we found that we're excited to that I'm excited to take them to. We got a Egyptian restaurant that we just found that's delicious that we're going to go take them to, and a Filipino restaurant that'll be really exciting. Oh, yeah, okay, and that's next month, huh? Wow, that's nice. How old is your cousin? For your mom's cousin. Oh, okay, gotcha. Interesting. So, like, your second cousin then. Your mom's cousin. That makes sense. Okay, that's really cool. You got a pretty big family. Because I guess I do got a big family. I guess I just haven't been to a lot of their weddings, you know. I live halfway across the country from a lot of them, you know what I mean? So, I have had a lot of weddings in the family that just wasn't able to make it to because I didn't have the money to fly out there or whatever, you know. And it's a bummer, but it happens. The few weddings I have been to, like my little brother's wedding, my girlfriend's friend just got married a few months ago. That was a blast. The few times I do get to go check out weddings, they've been a lot of fun. So I really like the whole, the festive atmosphere. Everybody's in a good mood and everything, you know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking blast. So, but yeah, how old is your cousin that's getting married? Is he around your age, like in his early 20s? Because that's when I said you were getting married, yeah. You're getting married like here in 2 years, so 22, 23, right? Is that the same with your cousin? Is that a pretty standard age to get married? Oh, I have no idea what that means. What does that mean? Oh, 34. Oh, okay. So your cousin's about my age. Good for him. Okay, that's really awesome, man. Is that a standard to get married? More standard to get married in your early 20s out in Saudi Arabia? Or is it more standard to get married in your 30s? Like, which one's more common? Probably. Okay, that's more common. All right, cool. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Well, good for your cousin. That's exciting. So that's the cousin you're hanging out with, right? The one that's 34 and going to get married next month. That's the one you're chilling with for the week? Ah. Okay, sure. It kind of sounded like it. The way you were talking about it earlier, it sounds like that's more common to get married in your early 20s. I mean, I guess that's the same here in America, or it used to be that way. The last 2 or 3 generations, I think my generation is the last generation here in America where the majority of people got married in their 20s. Now, here in America, most people are getting married in their 30s, it seems like. So it's kind of the same thing. Oh yeah, sure. No. Yeah, same here. Nobody, I think, it depends on what religion you follow, because we got a lot of different religions out in America. We got a lot of Christians and a lot of Muslims and a lot of Jewish people out here, a lot of atheists that don't believe in anything out here. We even got Scientology, Mormons, all of that. So it definitely changes from religion to religion. But for the most part, I don't think anybody looks down on anybody for getting married in their 30s out here. I think once you hit like your 50s, people kind of start like wondering about you, like, geez, what took you so long? But again, I think that depends on what religion you're a part of out here. You know what I'm saying? Geography too. America's just so fucking big that cultures change from one side of the continent to the other. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, some people have a bad view of that, but it's not common. Okay, all right, interesting. Well, that's good to know. That's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's good. Really, honestly, if somebody's getting married, that's an exciting thing no matter what. Especially if they love the person and they got a good relationship with them and it's a stable and healthy relationship, then you want to celebrate that regardless of whether in their 20s or 30s or whatever. You want them to be excited. You want to be excited about that, because it's good for everybody involved. You know what I mean? So I definitely get that. That's probably a good way to be about it. Some people, it's different here in America. Some people are pretty judgmental about that. Some aren't. Yeah, well, I think so. I think marriage is super duper important. I mean, really, like, that's how you start a family. You know what I'm saying? I am a very firm believer that you do need the man and a woman, 2-parent household, taking care of a kid. That a 2-parent household is extremely important. We have statistics out here in America. It upsets a lot of people to talk about, but it is what it is. Single parent households are the number one. I mean, not the number one, but they are one of the biggest. What's the word? God damn it. I can't remember the word. This word now. Fuck. I just can't remember any words. It's too late at night for me to be remembering words and shit. It's predictor. Whew, God, that was intense. I thought I was going to blow a fucking brain vessel there. It's one of the number one predictors for criminality in a child's life. When a child grows up in a single parent household, it exponentially increases the possibility of them getting into a life of crime. So I'm a huge believer in the 2-parent household. It's very, very important. And that starts with a good quality marriage. You know what I mean? So that's very, very important. And it's, it just one of those things in life that makes life better. Having a good partner to go through life with, somebody you love and loves you back and works with you to make a life together. It really is one of those things in life that everybody strives for, because it really does make a huge difference. It does. Life can be a lot of fun when you're single. It certainly can be, but it's a lot of fun. It's deeper and more meaningful when you get to share it with somebody. You know what I mean? So another reason why marriage is so important, man. It really deepens how, what's the word? It really, well, I guess adds depth to life is what it does. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's super important. I totally agree with that. Some people don't. That's definitely, people have different views on that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's greatly improves the quality of life. Oh, balls. Son of a bitch. Got my YouTube video blocked because of what is this? Reflections from the Other Side. Any news networks. Okay, 153. Yeah, I always have to, not always, but sometimes gotta cut this shit up because, oh, hold on. Where did that go? I got nasty nose noises to make. Okay. Sons of bitches. Of course, gotta block my damn video. And let's see. Procreation is an important part of marriage, but some people have different, beliefs on that. Some people don't, especially here in America, there's less and less people who believe in the importance of marriage, which I do feel like is kind of a bummer for them, you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you always need somebody, man. It's um they really do complement each other, man. And having somebody to live your life with to help you out with all the difficult moments, because there's a lot of difficult moments that happen in a person's life, having somebody to do that, it really does make life so much better, you know. So I know Christianity says something very similar. Got heartburn. But less and less people believe that. Less and less people believe in the sanctity of marriage, and it's a bummer. Yeah. See, it was this fucking history video. Like, because they always strike my YouTube channel. So fuck these guys. But we'll still watch it for the live stream. YouTube, you're not going to see this, right? This will be, I'm going to be editing this next part out. Sorry, but the unexplained zone can be some pretty big dicks. So what are you going to do? All right, check it out. Yep. Should have known. I even said it in the live stream. Not going to be able to see it because the History Channel is a bunch of cunts. Block everything. 203. Oh, okay. So back. Goofy ass kids missing body parts bullshit. Well, there you go. The story of the Allen. Well, let's check that edit. We did just watch a whole video on edits. Did 3 hour on it, big dicks. So, what are you gonna do? All right, check it out. Well, there you go. The story. So, what are you gonna do? All right, check it out. Can be some pretty big dicks. So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Yeah, thankfully, this doesn't need to be fancy. Wow. What are you gonna do? Well, there you go. The story. That'll work. That dog will hunt. Not the fanciest edit in the world, but it'll do. What did Shrek say? That'll do, donkey. That'll do. Okay. And let's just copy this bullshit over. And re-upload it, of course. There was something with the word live stream on here that was all fucked up. There it is. Okay. Export. Okay. At 1000020. Okay. Never ran into that before. Get that later. What the fuck? Error decoding full resolution media for Arkansas Myth and Legends MP4 at 1000002. Oh, fuck's sakes. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. Okay, let's retry that. Oh. I know what that would be, because I just tried to save that one on top. That's what it was. Hopefully. Well, we'll see. But anyways, yeah, I don't know if any of y'all are interested in watching me struggle with this damn editing on this stuff. So I'll probably let you guys go. I'll probably let you go to Razor. Sounds like you might be back in back to work anyways. So I'll let you guys go. But I appreciate you showing up for the live stream. See, look at this. What is this? Okay. And I appreciate anybody who watched the YouTube video. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you can give it a like and subscribe if you feel like, if you enjoyed the content. If not, then tune in some other time, and hopefully you like that better. But I will be back Monday. So I'll see you Monday, Razor. And if you see this, then you and your cousin, I hope you guys have a badass weekend and watch an awesome movie tomorrow. And to everybody else, I will see you Monday. Thanks for showing up, everybody. Peace.